The whole city got wiped out in the aftermath of a fight between the hero and some villain. Even after getting his butt handed over to him, this villain known as Huang just laughs maniacally at our hero's expense. While our hero still has that bastard pinned down to the ground by the throat, Huang sneaks a glance over his right shoulder. There, we see the hero's companions scattered around like disposable tin cans without their limbs. Of course, seeing his friends lying there butchered mercilessly just shatters our boy's soul, and his tears flow involuntarily. And by the way, our hero goes by the name of Gangyu. But despite everything what this bastard has done to our boy's friends, Gangyu clings to his principles and will not stoop to killing anyone, even if he faces a monster like him, and chooses to hand the scumbag over to the law instead, hoping for justice in return for his most cherished friend's sacrifice. At that moment, he was sure about his decision, but later, he regretted it big time. He wished he had just killed that monster himself to properly avenge his friends. Anyway, after all that chaos, news of the world's worst villain getting arrested spreads like wildfire. The guy who nearly brought the world to its knees is finally sentenced to death. They have got a superpower suppression device on Huang and he's locked up in the 5th basement floor of Reculus prison for the rest of his days. In the following scene, we see Gangyu watching the news, feeling totally devastated when the reporter pays respect to the fallen heroes who fought beside him, and there is a joint funeral for them tonight. Before Gangyu can torture himself further with the news, someone behind him turns off the TV. When the boy sneaks a look over his left shoulder, he spots Inspector Ganghoseo from Reculus prison, who gives Gangyu a friendly reminder not to stress out too much with the bad news, since he's supposed to be taking it easy. Well, as it turns out, this dude in the inspector's getup is none other than our hero's brother, pulling duty as a corrections officer at Reculus. That is when the boy opens up to his brother, his voice tinged with regret and eyes flashing with anger, and lays it out that he should have taken down that scumbag himself. But Gangho brings him back to reality with a reminder of the promise he made to his friends. Apparently, this cheap copy of Captain Marvel before our eyes once preached to our boy that the heroes are all about saving lives, not taking them. Even when facing twisted enemies, they deserve their day in court, because she believed that even criminals are human, and they have the right to stand a trial. In response, the boy acknowledges where she is coming from, but he still protests, questioning what they will do if they end up dead because of this rule. Even then, this blonde woman insists that everyone promised the same thing, which is not to kill anyone, even if their own lives are on the line. And right now, our hero's brother seems to be on her side, thinking people should only get judged by the law, and it is up to correction officers like him to handle those sentences. He then lets Gangyu in on some confidential info, which is that Huang will be executed next week, and he's going to be there as well. He further reassures our hero that he's fulfilled his duty, and now it is time for the corrections officers to carry out theirs. Gangho dutifully extends his hand towards his brother, telling him it is time to pay a final farewell to the fallen heroes. And so, after the funeral ceremony ended, everyone who loved the hero gave their farewell messages and flowers above their coffins. Meanwhile, an entire angry mob of civilians protested, demanding the killer be put to death to honor the fallen soldiers. After that day, our hero bid his final farewell to his buddies. An entire week passed, and when the day of Huang's execution finally arrived, our hero's brother, which was his only family, also ended up dying. It was like the last straw before our hero got completely shattered inside. That day was supposed to be a day of justice, where the criminal was supposed to be punished by the law. But instead, the criminal survived, and our hero's brother, a corrections officer, was killed. While he's sitting before his brother's memorial, he's suddenly called out by someone. There, he finds a lady with a big chest accompanied by her entourage. This woman turns out to be Reculus Prison's warden, known as Si Yun-jo, and it looks like she has some serious business with our hero. Without wasting any time, she pulls out a video tablet containing footage of Officer Gangho's last encounter with that devilish villain. She offers Ganghu the chance to see what happened to his brother that day. In the video, as Huang is being escorted out for his execution, he calls out to Gangho by his name, wondering aloud if he happens to be the brother of our hero. The officer does not respond to any queries, while Huang keeps yammering, asking if Gangho does not have any superpowers, which is probably why he's stuck as a prison guard, and also inquires which one of them is the older brother. Still, the officer does not let a single word slip out of his mouth, while Huang keeps pestering him. After not getting any responses, this piece of work starts asking Officer how does he feels when he kills other people. Well, Gangho is a modest person, so it is no surprise he is startled by such a bizarre question. Seeing his chance, the villain just keeps on talking, comparing himself to the officer, saying since they both kill people, he wonders what it feels like for Gangho. He even shares his own twisted experiences, saying he finds it fun and easy, and asks the officer once again to share his own as well. It looks like Huang has finally trapped the officer into a bait, who asks this villain what he means by having fun. To which, the white-head psycho responds, mentioning he enjoys the thrill of just a gentle touch of his finger making heads pop like soap bubbles. In reply, Gangho says he does not feel the same. In fact, he feels guilty every time he has to execute someone, even though all he does is press the button to punish scumbags like Wong. He talks about how he's always haunted by nightmares of the villains he's executed, with their voices asking if he's a murderer like them, tormenting him in his dreams. After hearing this, the white-haired psycho asks why he still works there if it messes with his head so much. Gangho just shrugs, saying someone's gotta do the job, and he's just doing his duty as a correction officer, like anyone else would. Soon after, the prisoner is strapped into the execution seat, and Wong is asked for his final words. In response, the maniac asks one last time who is older between him and our hero, but Gangho stays quiet and starts the countdown before pressing the execution button. And so, the countdown begins, 3, 2, 1, and just as the button's pressed, the video cuts off, leaving our hero totally confused and wanting to see more. That is when Seiyun-jo takes over the storytelling as the power cuts out right during the execution. With the power gone, all the officers start freaking out, one of them even asking if this is because of the prisoner. As you can imagine, their worst nightmare comes true when they see this jerk just break down that suppression device, which has already been damaged with some kind of electrical pulse, and the dude just blows up the chamber and sends everyone scrambling for their lives. One of the soldiers picks up the courage and shouts into his walkie-talkie for backup, but when he does not get a response, he tries again. Before he can report for the third time, that maniac is already behind him. In the very next moment, the guard's face starts swelling, veins bulging, and as soon as that maniac utters the word pop, the officer just blows into pieces. Terror washes over Gangho's face as he watches his friends splatter everywhere. After turning the other officers into nothing but blood and flesh, the psycho strolls toward Gangho with a menacing smile. He takes a wild guess that Gangho is definitely the older brother and asks if he's right. Despite the terror, the officer bravely grabs his dagger and dutifully swings it at the bastard. But to his horror, his hand holding the dagger disintegrates into nothingness. The pain is so intense that Gangho screams his lungs out in sheer torment, while the psycho keeps pressing, asking if his guess is correct. Once again, the soldier does not respond, grabs the dagger with his other hand, and swings right back at this dickhead who is just standing chill. And this time, the officer finds himself exploded into oblivion, which leaves nothing but his hat suspended in the air and a pool of blood. Looks like the villain of this story is still curious, so he decides he better ask Ganghu if he was right about his guess. Cut to the present moment, where we find our hero lost for words after hearing all about the incident. But that is not the end of it. She goes on to reveal that because of that unidentified electrical pulse strike, or also known as EMP strike, all the prisoners on every floor got freed from their suppression devices. The good news is that the authorities have managed to stop them from breaking out of the prison. However, many officers are already trapped in there with the prisoners. Hearing this, the boy asks about who launched that EMP strike, to which she reveals that the culprit behind it is still unknown. Even though she is feeling a tad awkward coming to him on the day of his brother's funeral, she still asks him to enter the prison and sort out the riot at Ruculus Prison. To her surprise, the boy immediately agrees. However, he will only go inside under one condition, and we will soon know what this condition is all about. You see, his teammates once told him that heroes save lives and should not be killing others. On the other hand, his brother, who was a corrections officer, always told him that people should only be sentenced by the law, and the ones who carry out those sentences are called executioners. So, basically, to honor the words of his friends and his brother, he decides to enter the prison as an executioner, probably to beat the living daylights out of those bastards to restore order. Once the prison gates finally swing open, all those thugs who were going absolutely nuts get flung away like mere mosquitoes. The ones still standing are scared out of their minds to see who this Giga Chad might be, tossing them around like pebbles. And you better believe it, the man in that silhouette is our hero, rocking his new getup as the executioner. Once he is finally in sight, he lets all these terrified folks know that he's Gang Yuseo, the new corrections officer. Not surprisingly, everyone knows who Gang Yuseo actually is, so they are curious why the hero is wearing a prison guard uniform. But their curiosity quickly turns into aggression as they lunge at our hero like he is a last slice in the pizza party. Seeing those thugs charge straight at their deaths, our hero does not even flinch. He is more than ready to waltz through this deadly dance of prison politics. So, he balls up his fist, and with one solid punch, the most eager one gets obliterated out cold. And with a few more blows, he scattered all the prisoners into pieces like they were nothing more than mud dolls ready to be trampled down. Once the ground is littered with limbs and bodies, the rest of the prisoners start thinking twice before making any moves. Meanwhile, our guy casually strolls forward as the gate clangs shut behind him. After a bit of mic testing, he turns to the hobos and lets them know that under the order of the government, everyone from the ground floor until to the 5th basement floor would be under his command, and he will be taking care of his brother duty, and so everyone will be executed immediately. And when he says this, he damn well means it. He is really eager to get to the last floor as soon as possible to take his brother's killer down. It looks like this white-haired psycho has also realized that Gang Yu has finally stepped into the mix, and he's equally eager to see our hero. Anyway, the prisoners on the ground floor are shocked to hear this. They start getting all cocky again and start trash-talking our guy, asking if he really dares to take everyone down here. To which Gangyu reminds them how they have taken countless lives, so he does not understand why these jerks are making such a fuss about it. That is when the goons start discussing among themselves. One of them cockily mentions that he's only killed 23 people, and some even say they have taken less than 10, and everyone starts protesting, mentioning they have their rights as well. Although these bitches are getting all rowdy, it does not make any sense to me how killing fewer people makes the situation better for them. In any case, there is one guy in the mix who stands out the most with his calm face, with green hair atop his head. This guy apparently is Guin Choi, a sexual offender and murderer of 8 people. At first, I thought this guy might be wiser among these other animals, but it looks like I was wrong, because this dickhead believes that he can escape out of this place while our hero is distracted. So as soon as he picks up his lightning speed and zips past through the angry mob, he successfully passes by our hero, only to get his head smashed by Gangyu in a single blow. Looks like this rowdy crew is finally getting in the mood to listen to what Gangyu has to say. As such, our boy plainly lets them know that either they slap those suppression devices back on and get back to their cells like good little dogs, or they can choose their deaths right here. Of course, the way our hero says this sends a chill running down these prisoners' spines. Still, there is yet another arrogant asshole who makes it clear that everyone here is going to pick the latter option since they are screwed to begin with. So, why not just put up a fight and do their darndest to earn their escape? After all, the terms of our hero's negotiations do not seem to favor them anyway. To clarify their misunderstanding, my guy ominously reminds them that he is not exactly here to do anyone any favors. This is just a last bit of mercy before he brings them down for good. Hearing this, the whole crew starts freaking out again, weighing their options and imagining all kinds of worst-case scenarios. Some decide to slap those devices back on to buy themselves a bit more time. But hey, it seems this dude is dead set on causing a rebellion. And as soon as he starts expanding his mouth, this green energy starts to radiate out of it, and with a high-pitched scream, he grabs everyone's present attention. Once he's got everyone's attention, he starts yapping about how they should not be afraid of some random hero from Equality, which is a league of heroes, because according to him, our boy just cannot handle all of the prisoners if they team up. He also brags about killing a second-tier hero before with a bit of teamwork, saying they can do the same here. After this little dose of encouragement, everyone gets excited about ganging up on our hero. To fuel the flames of rebellion even more, this asshole urges everyone not to back down for their freedom. Looks like Gangyu already knows about this jerk, as he got the scoop from the warden. Apparently, Ruculus has divided the prisoners by threat levels, and the ground floor alone holds over 300 serial killers, and these guys have records of killing multiple people. Then comes the first basement floor, which houses over 100 criminals who have put towns in danger, while the second basement floor holds over 30 criminals who have threatened entire cities. On the third basement floor, there are 10 individuals who made an entire nation beg for mercy. The fourth basement floor has 5 people who pose a threat to an entire continent. And lastly, the fifth basement floor houses our hero's arch-nemesis, along with 2 other criminals who put the entire world in danger. The warden assures him that he will not necessarily have to face everyone on those floors, as criminals from different floors might already be pushing up daisies. After all, prisoners from different floors do not exactly get along too well, and we can clearly see these guys killing each other, especially Wong about to have some twisted fun with the folks on the lower basement floors to kill some time until our hero arrives. She explains that things are totally different on the ground floor, where all the prisoners there are united under this guy who is about to stir up some trouble. His name's Hilleson, and he's got some special superpowers that let him shout and boost the power of those around him. After hearing about this criminal, Gangyu reminds Hilleson that he's attacked a hospital along with 30 other criminals, to kill 7 civilians and a second-tier hero named Hayes, making it a total of 8 people. But this guy, with his disgusting mug, corrects our hero, saying it was 10 people he killed, because the hero woman he killed was apparently pregnant with twins babies. While claiming his heinous deeds, he does not seem to have an ounce of shame on his face. And our hero is not exactly cracking up at all this trash talk that is supposed to be funny. But he keeps his cool and does not jump into action on impulse. He radios the warden through his collar mic, letting her know he might need to throw some punches to bring these guys to their senses. So, he asks her if the prison can handle a little roughhousing. To which, the warden assures him the place will not fall apart no matter how hard he goes on these thugs. With that green light, he decides to start the show, and he's not about to hold back one bit. Even then, this ugly dude just is not taking our hero seriously, and mentions that Gangyu is just a low-life trash hero, who happens to capture Wong after sacrificing his own teammates at the last minute, and confidently lets our hero know that they will going to send him to where his teammates has went to. So, Hilleson starts the rebellion by screaming out his empowerment spell. Once his disgusting sound hits the other prisoners, they feel a rush of power, making them confident and wild as they charge toward our hero. Well, what do you know, my guy merely swings his leg, and this dark red energy crackles through the area, obliterating every motherfudger in its path. When the madness ends, all that is left are scattered limbs across the ground and a terrified face of Hillesen, who is left frozen in shock after seeing this bloody mess. Looks like my man is not done yet. He raises his leg high in the sky and brings it crashing down once again, unleashing the same dark energy that wipes out every last remaining bastard, which also leaves the entire prison shaking from the chaos he's causing. Meanwhile, somewhere inside the prison, there is another guy fully strapped with criminal gear. Seeing the prison shake, he's pretty sure that Gangu has arrived. Down in the ground basement, it is like Judgment Day for these stubborn prisoners, feeling the sting of our hero's punches. This time, the boy really winds up his punch. And as those bastards are forced by this empowerment spell to lunge at our hero once again, Gangu just slices every single one of them into pieces with his dark energy. They find themselves suspended in the air, cut clean in half from their belly buttons. While taking his final breaths, the dude who pushed everyone to their hellish fate cannot believe his eyes that he's been defeated. While our hero stands there, the lifeless limbs of prisoners rain down from the sky, hitting the ground with a solid thud. Soon after, all that is left is a deafening silence and the lifeless bodies of criminals who were rebelling just a minute ago. Looks like there are still two thugs hanging on, and Gangu's giving them the option. Either they stick to their nonsense, or they put those suppression devices back on. At first, both of them are like deer in headlights, not sure what to do. But then, Mr. Muscle here loses his cool and tries to take a swing at our hero, only to end up with his head popped like a balloon. That leaves the scrawny one shaking in his boots, and eventually, he gives up and decides to slap that device back on. So, the boy tells him to come grab it, and this prisoner timidly asks for it. But as soon as he extends his hand, his face turns into this disgusting mug as he pulls a fast one on our hero, blasting Gangu with some purple energy. He thinks he's clever, laughing like a maniac, but his laugh dies real quick when he sees our hero still standing. Before finishing off this goon, the boy remembers a time when Tomai, a member of Equality, captured one of the villains. The villain once told him that those who only fire at targets from a distance would never taste the real euphoria that comes from crushing a person with their bare hands. And it looks like our hero is finally feeling that rush and the feeling of excitement as he turns these hobos to dust, which totally feels like he's crushing eggs with his bare hands. Once those other prisoners are out of the way, he heads deeper into the prison and runs into a familiar face we have seen before. This guy seems like he was waiting for Gangu's arrival after hearing all the commotion, and it has been almost 3 years since they last saw each other. Turns out, this dude is stuck in solitary confinement on the ground floor for cannibalism and sexualizing the corpses. Just as this prisoner is trying to exchange some small talk, my guy cuts right to it and tells him to put his suppression device back on if he wants to stay alive. But instead of listening, this creepy guy takes us back to a flashback of when he got caught by Equality. That is when Gangu notices something on the floor, a cooking pot in particular, packed to the brim with what looks like human flesh. When our hero realizes what is going on, his face goes from shock to pure devastation. Meanwhile, this sicko's just enjoying himself, talking about how perfectly seasoned human flesh tastes like. At that moment, he completely lost his cool and was about to blast that vile man away. But then, Captain Marvel steps in behind him, reminding him the ways of the heroes, which leaves him with no choice but to swallow his anger and let the criminal go free. And in this moment, our hero makes it clear that if this guy does not start talking, he will assume he wants to die. The thug tries to provoke Gangu by asking if he wants to know why he took down other people. Without a word, my guy swiftly slices off his head. But wait, turns out it was all just an illusion, and this guy is still kicking. Apparently, he can use his powers to engrave the memory of himself in people's minds, making sure they never forget him, not even in death. Before he can say another word, Gangu slices his hand clean off, casually mentioning he was aiming for that annoying face of his. I guess he missed the mark. Looks like this dude is sure he's about to meet his maker, so he asks a final question about whether Gangu remembers the people he's taken down on his way here. To which, the boy just brushes it off, saying those scumbags are not even worth remembering. And then, this dude pulls a dumb move, bringing out all of our hero's companions to life, who look all innocent like. But the boy is not falling for it. He slices those illusions down without a second thought. As you can imagine, the big guy is shocked that our hero just bats down his pals like flies. To which, Gangu coldly states they were just illusions, and chops this man like a cucumber into 2 pieces, dropping him lifelessly to the ground. Before he struts out of the place, he makes it clear he's not the same hero anymore, since now he has taken the job of an executioner. As the man takes his final breaths, he admits he's nothing like the hero he once faced. In fact, Gangu has become a monster, which is no better than Huang himself. Seems like those words hit a nerve with our boy. And before we can see further of his reaction, the next scene takes us back to this little devil, who is egging the lady on to fight back for once. Huang's getting bored waiting for our hero, so he's thinking of taking matters into his own hands and climbing up through the floors if she can't have any fun with him. The scene then cuts to outside of the prison, where we spot 3 characters perched on a high hill. The lady, leading the trio, seems glued to her iPad, keeping tabs on our hero. And it is clear she is getting quite excited at the prospect of meeting our handsome and daring boy, even going as far as to thinking of him as her husband. Seeing her all turned on, her crew members ask what the fuck she is talking about. In response, the girl repeats herself once again, saying he's surely going to be her hubby, of course. Still, this big guy, who goes by the name Cannies, reminds her that she was into Huang and wanted him to be her husband. So, how come she now wants this other guy now? The other lady in the crew, known as Gato, also agrees with the big man, saying this is precisely why they fired an EMP strike to begin with, just so they can save Huang. And besides, our guy is a hero, which makes him just an obstacle to their plans. To which, this crazy woman lays it straight that he used to be a hero, but now, he's nothing more than a butcher. Cannies then tells her to just pick the one person for God's sake, since sailing on 2 boats is unethical anyway. By the way, this girl goes by the name Sinka, and it looks like Sinka is torn between the two, since one is younger while our hero is an older guy. But then, eventually, she decides to go with the one who is going to survive. And she is absolutely thrilled to see them go for each other's neck, and the stronger one will belongs to her. The next scene cuts back into the prison. There we see the warden giving a verbal thumbs up to our hero for a good job, and she is a bit startled to see that he just cleared the ground floor in no time. She then reminds him that the prisoners are going to get exponentially more powerful from this point onward, so she suggests he get some rest. To which, my guy just cuts her short and makes it clear that he will not be stopping until he has made his way to the last floor, so he would rather prefer if she just opens the door. The lady acknowledges it and agrees to go along as he wants, but before he strolls off, she has a favor to ask before he heads down. She then spills that she has been getting reports from the 2nd basement floor from the surviving correction officers down below. She kinda begs him to save them at all costs since their families have been eagerly waiting for them at home. He then asks her about the number of officers alive on each floor. To this query, she shrugs, saying she has no clue since all the communication gadgets below the 1st basement floor got smashed up, except on the 5th floor. It looks like our boy does not need to rush to the 5th basement since we can already see that poor soldier crawling without his legs, and it appears that Huang is deliberately taking everyone down just so Gang Yu can come down there as soon as possible. After that is all cleared up, the officer decides to head in, and the folks from the control room request permission for the opening of the 1st basement floor. The warden surely gives them the green light to proceed. With that permission, the door starts to creak open with a rumble, and before our hero strolls inside, she gives him one last heads up to watch his back down there because these prisoners are no joke. As soon as our hero takes a peek, he sees why she is giving him the warning. Everyone inside the prison starts bombarding him with everything they have got, and they are laughing their butts off while bamboozling our hero with every weapon they have got in their arsenal. Seeing him getting torn apart leaves the lady terrified. But she does not have time to freak out because there is already a prisoner right in her face, ready to take her down. The thug shamelessly grabs the woman by her throat and hoists her into the air, letting her know he's been itching to beat the crap out of her for ages. He then calls out to his buddies, saying he's got the chicken they had been waiting for the longest time. Well, it seems there is no one left alive to hear him, because Gang Yu has already cleaned them out in a flash, leaving nothing but bodies behind. That sight sure freaks this guy out, leaving him speechless. When he looks up, he sees my guy crashing down, and with one punch, he wipes the floor with the bastard and the ground beneath their feet. The shockwaves even knock the lady down. After he's done, he tells her not to stick around when the next door opens, because, well, you know it already, this place is far from safe. Seeing that determined yet cold look in the officer's eyes leaves the lady feeling a chill down her spine, and she just mumbles out a positive response to his request. With that, the boy marches forward, while she reminds him about Tomoki, the prisoner captured by Hiro Tomai, and that criminal woman has been in isolation on the 1st basement floor, but the boy just shrugs it off, saying he's got it covered. Meanwhile, down in the isolation cell on the 1st basement floor, the clowns inside cannot help but catch all the freaky loud noises echoing from outside. One of them pipes up, suggesting maybe the prisoners are breaking out the cell. Then comes Tomoki sauntering in, scoffing at their dumb ideas. While perched on one of the guards' bodies, she assures them they have not escaped, because why would those fools be making such noises if they are trying to escape? She also throws some shade at her prison buddies, saying that is why this sorry bunch ended up in prison, because around here, brains are just for show. You see, the fact that she is getting cocky is that she had already killed 28 heroes already, and she used to be a hero herself. Anyway, after feeling insulted, this muscle-bound fool steps forward, annoyingly asking if she is asking for death. The lady in response just pisses him off further, by questioning if a puny punk like him could even lay a finger on her. She boasts about how everyone here is just a bunch of lowlifes who have only killed innocent civilians, while she has taken down so many superpowered folks she has lost count. Well, that was the last straw for this big guy. And even though he has not taken down any superpowered folks, he's sure he's about to take one down right now. And you better believe it, the fool gets cut in half with just a single swing of her hand adorned with those furious claws. Once she is done with him, she asks the dude once again what the hell he was talking about with all this killing talk. Of course, the two goons on the sides are just blown away, while the lady gives them a piece of her mind. She tells them she has saved countless civilians while she was doing her job as a hero and learned how to fight against people with superpowers. With that knowledge, she has also taken down a bunch of heroes as well. So, she offers them a chance to join her, where she promises to teach everyone how to spill the blood of someone with superhero powers. And she gets absolutely pumped up while mentioning she can help them take down our boy because she knows everything about his abilities as well. Obviously, the goons are stoked to hear she has got the inside scoop on our hero's abilities, so they ask her how she knows it. To clarify their confusion, she reminds them once again that she had a long career as a hero, so she basically knows a lot about most heroes. To that, the thug just shrugs, reminding her that she is just a third-tier hero, unlike Gangyu, who is the top dog in the League of Equality Heroes. So, it does not make sense how this woman intends to take him down. That is when the lady drops a bombshell, reminding them that after Captain Marvel took the charge of equality, she initiated a whole reform in the hero industry. Firstly, she redefined what it means to be a hero by banning heroes from killing villains. Secondly, she enforced heroes to train together in groups. And lastly, she abolished the tier system that ranked heroes into 5 different tiers. But when Gangyu joined the equality, there was no tier system, so they cannot be sure if our hero is actually a powerful one. Not to mention, he does not have any notable achievements of his own. Plus, there are rumors floating around that Captain Marvel was romantically involved with him, which could be the reason he joined the equality in the first place. Seems like this load of bull kinda clicks with this thug, and one of them also admits he has never seen Gangyu fight before. But he's dead certain it only took him a hot minute to clear out the ground floor, so he's banking on him being at least a second-tier hero. To which the lady just rolls her eyes again, saying those ground floor prisoners are just weak sauce. She eggs them on, by pointing out that they could squash those wimps with their powers since everyone in this isolation cell has taken down thousands of people. And out of all these goons, this guy known as Speech boasts the highest body count, which is a whopping almost 6,500 people. She clears things up by saying our hero is not weak, but she sure knows how to poke his soft spots. So, she suggests teaming up to hunt him down. Speech finally pipes up, asking if she is sure about her claims. To which she reminds her that no one has much of a choice here anyway since their death is already coming straight for them, so they do not have much time to mull over anything. Hearing this, all of the goons raise their hands and show their willingness to join. And when Speech is asked about his decision, he remains silent for a few seconds, but decides to fight our boy in the end. While they are planning how to take Gangyu down, let me explain the origin of these superpower abilities. Apparently, superpowers were first observed in humans several centuries ago. Over the years, researchers studied these abnormalities and grouped the abilities into 3 categories. Physical-type superpowers modify or strengthen the user's body. Creation-type superpowers allow one to create materials out of nothing. And special-type superpowers encompass all other powers that do not fall into the 2 categories above. Finally, silence descends over the thugs as they watch Gangyu standing right before their eyes. Once everyone eyeballs our hero, they each connect their brains with a physical-type superpower known as brainwave communication, which is being used by Speech. While they are connected to this Skype conference call directly transmitted into their heads, the lady mentions that Gangyu has physical-type superpowers just like her. Looks like this lady is about to get her butt kicked by our hero, because she's so sure she knows all about his powers just because she's seen him train against a robot. As soon as our hero strolls onto the scene, he tells these thugs to make a choice, either put their suppression devices back on or die here. But Gangyu does not get any response. Instead, he's ambushed by an attack that does not even tickle him. It seems this woman already knew he would not dodge any attacks, just like she has seen him fight before. So, keeping that in mind, she has already placed prisoners with creation and special-type superpowers behind a fortified cell door to blast attacks at Gangyu from a distance. An attack they do, everyone goes absolutely bonkers, creating a rainbow-like spectacle with every kind of attack power trying to hit our hero. Speech is kinda amazed to see that Gangyu isn't blocking the attacks, just like Tomoki said. And not only that, she also knows why he isn't dodging those attacks. Apparently, it's because our hero simply doesn't feel the need to dodge them. So that's why Tomoki added a little twist to catch our hero off guard. And this little surprise turns out to be these power suppression devices, which have strapped our hero from head to toe before Gangyu could even make a move. The mastermind who plugged our hero with these nuisances is standing behind the gate, snickering like he's done the best thing in the world. Once our hero is strapped, we come to know that Speech is the one who took all of the suppression devices from the guards' dead bodies like she instructed him to do. But he is a bit skeptical if these can hold our hero much longer since these devices are supposed to only hold prisoners from the first basement. To which the lady assures him that they just need to get a bunch of them on him, and 10 of those should be more than enough to suppress a second-tier hero. 15 are required for a first-tier hero, and they have enough to seal our hero's powers. She assigns this dude known as Million to attach these devices on him, since his special type superpower can make items lock onto a target. Even then, she decided to play it safe and strapped our hero with 20 of those devices to get the job done correctly. The thugs start doing the victory dance as soon as they realize victory is in their bags. But their moment of happiness is cut short when our hero just obliterates those suppression devices like it is no big deal. It appears that Tomoki's plan had 3 flaws she failed to consider. The first one was that Gangyu is more powerful than any other first-tier hero. And the looks on her face are priceless when she witnesses our boy tearing off those suppression devices like they are just pesky stickers on a banana. Our hero just tears those bastards like paper with his bare fists, like it's nothing. Seeing the situation going out of control, the lady shouts to everyone to go for the next phase. There, they command our hero to stop immediately because these bunch of hobos are apparently taking other guards hostage. She tells Gangyu that if he wishes to save the guards, he better stop there. But before they can finish their threat, this dark red energy starts crackling with just a flick of his finger. While the guards are unaffected by this electrical energy, the rest of the thugs are turned into just blood and flesh in the blink of an eye, which marks the second thing Tomoki overlooked, because our hero's abilities are not limited to his physical type abilities, since he also has special type superpowers. After seeing their friends turned into minced meat, the clowns hiding behind the doors wonder to themselves if they should put their devices back on, and they say the same thing to our hero after surrendering themselves. However, the boy shows no concern or mercy to these lowly swines, and with his crackling dark energy, he cuts through everyone hiding behind, which marks the third thing Tomoki overlooked while planning, which is that she tried to tangle with someone who is just beyond her league. By now, Speech is pretty sure that he is fucking screwed. So he turns to this dumb lady, shouting at her, asking her what the heck was that, and asks if she has any backup plan to sweep up the mess she has led everyone into. While the guy behind her keeps on shouting, and blames her for pushing everyone into this mess, the woman has no clue how to proceed further, and frustratingly tells this loudmouth to shut the heck up. In a fit of rage, she pierces a gigantic hole right into the loudmouth's belly, leaving him gushing blood out of his mouth. Once the man is down on the ground, the lady starts thinking again. She has no clue how Gangyu can withstand so many suppression devices and cannot figure out why, if he was that powerful, he never showed this side of himself before. Suddenly, her gaze falls on the soldier on the ground, and seeing his looming death, the poor guy starts bawling his eyes out, begging for someone to help him out. And in the very next moment, his wish is granted as our hero cleanly severs the lady's sharp claw, saving the soldier in the process. Before finishing her off, the boy asks if she has any last words. It is at this moment she knew she fucked up. And before she is completely gone, she asks if all the heroes of equality have been wiped out. The boy confirms, and upon hearing his positive response, the woman just starts laughing her fat ass off. Looks like even in her final moments, she has got a sense of humor. And she just smirks while thinking about Tomai might as well be dead since she was the one who captured her and placed her in the prison. The woman mentions that she had told Tomai not to become a heroine, but her foolish sister did not listen to her. Wait, so Tomai is her biological sister? Well, that is a plot twist as surprising to me as it is to you guys. Anyway, the lady keeps on rambling about how she cannot believe our hero has killed all these people, even though he's supposed to be a hero, who is supposed to stick to the rule of not killing others. Gangyu has had enough of her yapping, so he asks if she has anything else to say. It is like he's finally about to hit the mute button on her non-stop chatter. But before we wrap up the villain of this arc, let us dive into a little backstory. You see, the first time Tomoki joined the heroes organization, she felt something was off. The fact that heroes hunted villains gave them immunity, even when civilians were killed in the process, and no one was there to judge them for their cruel actions. For example, there was this hero who just slashed down the assaulter along with the innocent civilian. And this hero did not even feel an ounce of shame afterward. So Tomoki became a heroine named Bliss for a very simple reason, which we are going to discuss shortly. And while she was performing the role of hero, she became an incredible older sister who saves her little sibling, Tomai, who admires her sister dearly for having superpowers and always helping her in need, especially Tomai did not have any superpowers. But there was something really twisted about Tomoki's personality as well. It is like she has got a hero complex on steroids, and she never helped civilians for the greater good. In fact, she only did it to feel a sense of superiority over the rest. Then one day, Tomoki crossed a line and bumped her heroism up a notch. She made her first kill on a mission, and boy, did it give her a rush of ecstasy. After that, she went on a killing spree, taking down anyone who dared to cross her path. Villains, civilians, even her fellow heroes, no one was safe from her wrath. She loved seeing the shock and disbelief on their faces, especially when they realized they were outmatched, and it was like she got a kick out of being the top dog in the hero game. After some days of her crazy behavior, her little sister started to feel strange about Tomoki. She always came home late at night, fully drenched in the scent of blood all over her. So Tomai decided to follow her older sister one day, and after witnessing Tomoki attempting an act of murder shattered Tomai's soul. Even then, seeing her little sister before her eyes was not enough to make Tomoki stop her gruesome act. Instead, she invited her junior to also join in the killings. And that is when Tomai awakened her superpowers, and stopping Tomoki was the first thing she did as a heroine. After that, Tomai officially registered as a heroine and started tracking down Tomoki, who had turned into a full-fledged villain by that time. And one fateful day, she finally takes her senior sister under arrest. But this woman does not seem ashamed even after being hunted down, and goes on to mock her little sister for having summoning-type powers instead of physical ones. She enthusiastically mentions that her little sister can only fire at targets from a distance, so she will never know how good it feels to crush a person with their bare hands. That is how the saga between the two sisters ended, with the evil one ending up behind bars. Tomoki then asks if her sister died in peace, to which our hero reveals that Tomai died in battle against Hwang, where she had been obliterated. While taking her final breaths, she cried heartily, begging her older sister to come and save her little sister like the good old days. After regretting asking about her sister, she starts transforming into this weird-ass thing that is not quite humanish, not quite animal-ish. Anyway, it looks like she is gearing up for a showdown with our hero. In the blink of an eye, she lunges at Gangyu. But just as she swings, he pulls off a disappearing act, leaving nothing but crackling dark red energy in his wake. When she turns around, expecting a hug, she gets a brutal kick instead, sending her tumbling back like a bowling pin. As the dust settles after her crash landing, she charges at him again, only to take yet another solid hit to her gut, which leaves her devastatingly coughing up blood. Just like that, she reverts back to her human form, kneeling on the ground. While she grunts in pain, the boy feels pity for having to get his hands dirty with his companion's family member. As you can imagine, the woman swallows her pride and starts begging our hero to spare her since he is supposed to be a hero, and he has already promised to kill no one. But my man coldly lets her know that he's not a hero anymore. Still, the woman persists, grabbing our hero's feet desperately, pleading for anything if only she is spared. Despite all her desperate pleas, our hero does not seem to faze, and reminds her of all the times she ignored similar pleas from innocent lives she mercilessly ended. He asks how she responded to them when they were begging for mercy, just like her. Well, it seems she has finally realized she is up the creek without a paddle. So, she braces herself for obliteration as Gangyu charges his fist to deliver his final blow. While our hero's back and forth continued, the sounds of his fighting sent shockwaves through the prison. Even those goons waiting outside could hear the booming sounds. While hearing those sounds, this crazy lady is just getting hyped up, convinced that her future husband must be the one causing all this ruckus. Meanwhile, those officers stuck inside the prison were instilled with fear because of those voices. And there is this bastard who is now more eager than ever to meet our hero. After playing around with this girl besides him, he is barely keeping his excitement in check to get face to face with our hero, so he decides to head up right now. But before he could make his ascent, the kid just gets blasted by someone, leaving him crashing down backwards. Of course, the little one is startled after getting this nasty shock, and the one who delivered that blow finally comes into view, and he's more than willing to entertain this little villain for the time being. While readjusting his hat after putting it back on his head, he gives the old man props for his seriously intimidating mug. The old-timer responds with a grin that is practically dripping with evil, jokingly brushing off his own sinister appearance as just an old guy having a bit of fun with the kiddos. Apparently, this old man is Kingstone, one of the prisoners from the 5th basement, and he appears to be prisoner number 1. The scene cuts back to the command office, where these two juniors seems to have stumbled upon something unexpected. Immediately, the jittery officers point her attention to basement level 5, and hurriedly reveal to her that Kingston and Hwang just had a meet and greet down there. Seeing this, the warden's reaction is a bit of nonchalant shrug, and reassures the officers that this is actually a good news. Naturally, her unexpected response throws both of the guys for a loop, so she clarifies that if these two throw down, it is game over for one of them. And she is personally rooting for Kingston to win, since he's not as threatening as Hwang. Also, after seeing the CCTV, she is really curious to know why this maniac is hoisting this girl up in the air like a puppet. Back in basement 5, Hwang asks the old man if he's really up for a showdown, although the old man is really eager to have a little match, but the little one mentions he's not exactly one to fight. Seems like Kingston does not take no for an answer too well, so he gets a bit intimidating, saying he would like to have a little fun with Hwang. But before we dive deeper, let us talk about Kingston's backstory. He is like the number 1 prisoner of Ruculus Prison, and he has been there since forever. Unlike most of the other inmates down here who racked up a body count in the millions, Kingston's kill list is surprisingly short, with only 3 people in his kill count. His first victim was Karax, the world's big bad villain of his time, and then he took out Clark and Hilo, the most powerful superhero duo at that time. Kingston basically popped out of the shadows and took out 3 of the biggest heavy hitters in the world. After laying them out, he turns to the soldiers around him and asks if he can now be considered the strongest person in the world, since he's taken out all the people who were considered invincible. With those final words, he lets the government take him. After voluntarily surrendering himself, the world's biggest threat was neutralized, but Kingston's execution got caught up in some political circus between the government and the Superhero Association, delaying it by a good 30 years. The old man then assures Hwang, saying he's not really interested in killing young guns, especially those with potential to grow. Reluctantly, Hwang agrees to a little scuffle. In a flash, he gets those dead soldiers floating in the air and turns them into these little flesh orbs in the blink of an eye. Then, it is game time. He tosses those meaty projectiles at the old-timer, who starts moving his hands faster than the eye can see, redirecting every last ball right back at the boy. Well, Hwang is not a schlub either. He flings them back again, creating a splatterfest all over the wall behind. As the blood rains down, Hwang seems a bit lackluster, while Kingston is all smiles, thoroughly enjoying the show. At first, Kingston thought Hwang might be a telekinesis user, but the way he defends himself suggests otherwise. While Kingston's itching for more action, Hwang just shrugs, saying he is not playing it anymore. He lays it out plain that there is no thrill in taking down someone like Kingston, who is probably going to kick the bucket from old age anyway. Naturally, this elderly guru is feeling a tad annoyed by those remarks. And just because of those few words, he gets serious, floating towards the young upstart like he is the hottest thing in the town. With each thunderous step, the ground crumbles beneath Kingston's feet, while he dishes out some verbal beatdown on Hwang, mocking how brats like him always think they are the top dogs in their own little ponds, only to get their butts handed to them because their egos are bigger than their own puny heights. The whole building starts to shake like crazy, and up in the control room, the warden and the other officers are tumbling around like bowling pins. However, the lady tells these goons to stop overreacting, as Ruculus Prison is built like a fortress with 20 layers of special walls that can take hits from even the top-tier heroes. Meanwhile, inside the prison, as Kingston picks up his momentum, he decides it is time to teach this little arrogant brat a lesson. With a colossal leap, Kingston comes crashing down towards Hwang like a freaking meteor, obliterating everything in its path with just one mighty kick. The entire building starts shaking once again, and the lady asks the officer about who won the battle. To her terror, the officer explains that right now, that is not the major concern, since the greater cause of concern is that with one single blow, that old man wiped out all of the 20 walls. When the warden hears it, she literally starts losing her shit right away. The little guy finds it intriguing that this old man might not be a schlub after all, and eagerly decides to follow him out. But before he can act on that thought, a voice interrupts him, and of course, it is the same crazy woman known as Sinka who is going bananas over our hero. She finally appears to have arrived here to meet her second potential love interest, or I dare say her second husband. Even the officers in the command room are bewildered to see this unexpected development in the plot. Not surprisingly, Hwang is totally confused to see who these maniacs are, to which this crazy woman just tells him that they will surely understand each other better if they simply talk. Looks like we are having a little date inside this heavily guarded prison, and the warden does not seem to be thrilled about it. She is absolutely blown away to see how the hell this woman got to the 5th basement level. Well, it appears that Sinka clearly knows there are some people who are trying to peek into their privacy. So, with a flick of her finger, she shuts off any surveillance devices that were activated, which surely leaves our blondie gritting her teeth in frustration. In the next scene, we finally cut back to our hero, who reports back to the warden that he has cleared out the 1st basement floor, and he is apparently heading straight to the 2nd basement floor right now. But before he can proceed to enter, the lady responds back and tells him to immediately stop. Once Gangyu is finally listening to the lady intently, right at that very moment, the transmission cuts. So he decides to venture further inside in any case, thinking the signal must be bad down on the 1st floor. And so, once he swings open this giant door, Gangyu starts descending down the stairs to the 2nd basement floor. The first thing he notices is that unlike the ground floor and the 1st basement floor, which smelled like a zombie picnic, and in contrast the 2nd basement floor is totally different. In fact, there is no one around, not even a single corpse in sight, which was clean to the point it felt suspicious. Suddenly, the boy hears screams, and there, he sees one of the officers being chased by these furious hounds. Once they both finally come face to face, the lady mistakes Gangyu for his brother Gangho. Just as those monsters are about to take a bite out of this lady's candy butt, the boy immediately obliterates the monsters chasing her down, leaving the lady there on the ground momentarily left speechless after that heart-throbbing encounter. Gangyu asks if she is alright, and in an instant, the lady just hugs our hero with tears in her eyes, still mistaking him as Gangho. She then mentions that she thought he was on the 5th basement floor, and she is also surprised to see that he has superpowers, which is a surprise to her since she never saw Gangho using powers. Sadly, our hero immediately bursts this woman's pleasant reunion by mentioning that he is not the Gangho she knows, but actually his brother. The lady is absolutely confused at this point. Although she recognizes the boy correctly this time as one of the renowned heroes from the Hero Association, she is puzzled about why he's wandering around in an officer's uniform. I mean, what is he even doing there? Instead of shooting the breeze further, Gangyu reminds her that this place is dangerous, so she better get out of here as soon as possible. But the next thing this lady says totally startles our hero, because she apparently addresses him as brother-in-law. She then pleasantly introduces herself as our hero's sister-in-law, and when the boy hears this once again, he is just plainly startled once again. Before we get to see more of Gangyu's awkward face, the scene cuts to the second basement floor isolation cell. There, we see these two shady characters, who are making other prisoners float above in the air, and these two seems to have got the gist that our hero is around the corner. One of them even says that this outsider has also killed her hounds as well, and this priest lady goes by the name of Male. In response, this boy reassures her sister, stating that he will make sure to take revenge by sending our boy into the depths of hell. By the way, this dude with blue eyes goes by the name of Meal. Back to our hero, who is looking as bewildered as a cat at a dog show after being called brother-in-law. Apparently, this lady is one of the Ruculus prison's inspectors, known as Jiahong. After exchanging pleasantries, our boy throws in a curveball, saying he is already aware that Gangho has already scored a woman for himself, but he was not aware that his brother is actually married. Seems there is more to their story than he thought, as we can clearly see the lady feeling a bit awkward before telling further anything. Eventually, she musters up courage and redirects our hero's attention to her belly, hinting at the presence of his niece or nephew growing inside her. Naturally, this bombshell news leaves our hero in shock, prompting him to inquire further. Jiahong explains that it has only been a month, so they cannot determine the baby's gender yet. They only found out a few days ago, and Gangho wanted to surprise our hero once the Huang execution was over. Gangyu's heart instantly melts away upon hearing this, and even the lady can read the sadness plastered across his face. So, she naturally checks in, asking if there is something that is bothering him, to which the boy quickly shakes his head, reassuring her that all's good, although his facial expression says otherwise. Moving on, the girl's curiosity piques as she questions why he's donning the officer uniform, especially since, as a hero, he would not necessarily need to adhere to the dress code of an officer just to control the riot. Naturally, the lady gets startled when she hears that Gangyu has changed his role from hero to a special corrections officer, and his sole job now is to execute the prisoners in the Ruculus. Jiahong then asks our hero if it is the warden who is pressuring him into this job. It seems the lady is unaware of recent events, so he decides to fill her in. When she hears about the EMP strike during Huang's execution, she is completely frozen, at a loss for words. She asks about who might have pulled the plug, to which the boy simply says they are still digging into it. She starts to freak out, thinking about her husband since he was supposed to be on the 5th basement floor for the execution at the time of the EMP strike. Gangyu remains silent for a moment, which only adds to the lady's fear, but then he decides not to tell her the truth. Instead, he spins the tale that Gangho has been sending rescue signals from the 5th basement floor. Of course, the woman finally breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that at least her hubby's still alive, though I'm not sure what she is gonna do when she finds out the truth. Nonetheless, the boy tells her to take her leave since it is dangerous out here. But the lady insists otherwise, letting him know that he's definitely gonna need her down there. Not surprisingly, the boy asks the reason behind her confidence. In response, the woman mentions that she has the ability to read anyone's memories just by looking at them, a special type of superpower known as psychometry. Hilariously enough, while the boy starts feeling insecure around her because he just told her a lie about her husband, the woman immediately reassures him that she does not peek into anyone's memories without solid reason. She mainly uses her abilities to figure out whether someone is guilty of their crime or not. Well, it looks like our hero is still not convinced, and asks how her powers are going to help his situation particularly. That is when the lady drops the bomb that the entire 2nd basement floor is under the control of the two siblings, where the boy is known as Meal and the female one is Male, who are inmates of the isolation cell. These siblings apparently both have summoning abilities and special superpowers as well. They can summon creatures that stab people's hearts, then use their abilities to make puppets out of their victims. Thanks to those wacky abilities, all the prisoners on sub-level 2 are their puppets. Well, the boy surprises her by pointing out that he already knows how their powers work since they are pupils of Mago, who is one of the heroes. So with that in mind, he politely shows her the way outside, as he does not need any more info on that front. But then the next time she speaks, she finally piques our hero's interest when she mentions that some of the puppets include the officers, and the only way to distinguish them from other prisoners is by reading their memories. Even then, the boy mentions that if anyone turned into puppets already, they are basically dead, which totally renders the need to read anyone's memories. But the lady says otherwise, claiming that the officers will be back in action once they are released from the siblings' power. But then, our hero throws it back at her, asking why on earth those siblings would let the soldiers be free. Confidently, she mentions she can sweet-talk them into it, and she is feeling positive about it. Still not sold on her plan, Gangyu points out the risk, especially with a bun in her oven, as it might get hurt in the process. She acknowledges the danger, but she cannot just bail on her duty as an officer. Seeing her in that soldier's energy does put smile on our hero's face, but he still can't shrug off the danger ahead. So, as an extra precaution, he raises his hand and traps the lady in a makeshift barrier of red energy to keep her absolutely safe from any threats, leaving no room for danger. While he's lugging the lady into his floating round barrier, she is freaking out, wondering aloud if this energy will not slice her up like a cucumber, because she is feeling about as safe as a fish out of water. Anyway, after their short walk through the corridor, they finally stumble upon something worthwhile. The officer warns our hero that these critters belong to Meal, the older brother, and before she can fill him with any more useless info, the boy just cuts to the chase and asks which ones are the officers. Hearing his command, she dives right into their heads and spots 2 soldiers in the mix, standing at the very last in the group. After getting the info he was actually waiting for, Gangyu just goes ahead and wraps the lady up in this barrier, cutting her off from seeing what is going down outside, probably because he does not want to let her see what he is about to going to do. With a strategy in mind, he simply sends out his dark energy robes, snagging those 2 officers, and wraps them up completely to secure them away and distinguish them from the rest of the prisoners as well. Once that is cleared up, he starts blowing away the other monsters with his bare fists, like he's popping balloons at a birthday party. He continues to lay the smackdown on those other monsters, not showing an ounce of mercy for the ones with prisoners inside. With his final move, he zips right past them, and his lightning dark robe slashes down every one of those monsters in an instant. Seems like these 2 watching our hero go all Hulk smash on their pets is not exactly their idea of a good time. And after eyeballing our hero in action, the brother asks his sister if Gangyu might actually be stronger than their master. And if that is true, they are afraid that he is then surely stronger than Captain Marvel herself. Realizing this, the little sister starts to get scared, and clings to her brother for comfort. But the older brother is all chill, telling her not to sweat it as well, because even if this outsider is packing some serious power, it is not going to be a cakewalk to take this duo down, especially with this countless number of soldiers and prisoners, which has been turned into nothing more than string dolls. The duo is surely going to give our hero a hard time. Once our hero finishes off those monsters, he finally turns off that privacy mode, and lets the air and light pass through the bubble, giving the lady a much-needed breather from that suffocating bubble. Naturally, she questions him, asking what the fuck she did to deserve this shit. For his crude actions, the boy apologizes, and when she demands to know what the hell he did after everything went out of her sight, Gangyu explains that he isolated the corrections officers and simply executed the prisoners. Can you believe how messed up our guy has gotten? He's now started labeling mass genocide as executions, only to justify himself. Of course, even the lady is completely bewildered, who asks how the hell he managed to execute those prisoners, since all the execution devices are down in basement 5. The boy just adds to her confusion by stating that he did it all by himself. Not surprisingly, this just shocks the lady even more, and she demands to know who gave him permission for this. Once again, Gangyu casually speaks, informing her that he's acting on his own accord. She then asks if the warden is backing him up on this, to which the boy simply nods in agreement once more. Hearing this, Jiahong just lets out a sigh of disappointment, wondering what the heck Warden was thinking when they assigned our hero to such tasks, and what further baffles her is the fact that Gangyu seems pretty chill about all this executing stuff. To this, my guy simply says he's doing what a correction officer has to do, and he does not see anything wrong with that. Well then, Jia starts going on about how officers are supposed to rehabilitate prisoners and all that jazz, but the boy is not interested in this talk at all, so he cuts her off. He makes it clear that he used to follow these ideals about not killing people, and believing everyone should be judged by the law, but now he knows what kind of consequences those ideals bring. Basically, those who cling to these beliefs just get slaughtered like lambs by those ruthless criminals, and reasoning with those mindless psychopaths about anything is the same as teaching a cow to do backflips. And after coming this far, Gangyu does not give a damn if he's an officer or a hero, as all he wants to do is subdue these rabid monsters and restore order. Seeing this dark side of our hero totally sends shivers down her spine, and she terrifyingly reminds him that the people he killed were humans as well. When Gangyu hears him being all sympathetic to those monsters, our hero gets totally annoyed and asks what makes her think those monsters are actually humans. He goes on about how these criminals on each floor have racked up body counts, and they gotta face the music for what they have done. He also brings up how there used to be talks about abolishing the death penalty to avoid any wrongful convictions, but ever since the emergence of psychometric users, he tells her that no one's been wrongly convicted since, and she knows it firsthand, being one of those psychometric power users herself. Even then, the lady keeps on with her protest, saying an individual still should not be executing anyone. Well, Gangyu's had it up to here with her yammering and just coldly tells her to shut it. He makes it super clear that if she keeps blabbering the same nonsense, he will make sure to send her upstairs, and he's gonna handle things his way, regardless of who dies along the way. The lady gulps down her spit out of horror and decides to zip it, so they venture further into the prison. When they bump into more of those creatures, Gangyu asks her to point out the soldiers out of the prisoners, and she instantly spots 3 officers standing right at the back. Just as Gangyu is gearing up to lay the smackdown on those monsters, the lady shoots him a look and drops the bombshell that Gangha will be sad when he finds out his bro is a stone-cold killer. Well, that line hits Gangyu like a thunderbolt out of the blue, leaving him frozen in place. When one of those monsters takes a swing at him, their sword shatters on impact, while Gangyu is still in a mental tailspin. Then, bam, he hits his breaking point. With each punch, he's unleashing a con of whoop-ass on those monsters. All that idealistic talk is swirling around in his head, which just fuels the fire inside him, and frustration boils over, turning him into a one-man wrecking crew. It is all that idealistic chatter that had been nibbling him from the inside, driving him nuts. And those prisoners at the end have become his stress ball as he pounds them into a crimson mess. Once he's done kicking monster butt, Gangyu just stands there, watching the rainfall of blood. Meanwhile, the crazy lady is practically losing her bananas over our hero, getting all fired up again. With each time she watches him wreaking havoc, Gangyu is inching closer to being her dream hubby. After tidying up the place, they start strolling again, and the lady's jaw practically hits the floor when she sees that our hero left no one standing except the 3 officers. Suddenly, Gangyu notices something, and as soon as he turns his head around, we see those familiar heads. As the scene zooms out, we spot this gigantic monster, and the siblings finally come into view. Seems like our hero is just relieved to see them finally showing up, saving him the trouble of hunting them down. Looks like Jiahong's got some serious catching up to do with these 2 siblings, but they are not exactly throwing a welcome party for her. They are pretty disappointed that she did not come back to them, and they are not shy about saying they would have sent her packing to heaven for the kindness she showed to them, only if they had the chance. Before our hero starts beating the shit out of these siblings, the lady tries to talk some sense into them, telling them to release the people they have got under their thumb. And if they do, Gangyu promises to give them a quick and painless death. The scared siblings cling to each other, asking if there is any other choice besides getting killed. Gangyu comes straight with his words, pointing out that if they had not already racked up a body count of over 1,000, he might have cut them some slack and would have just told them to put their suppression devices back on. However, since they are knee-deep in blood, mercy's off the menu. The girl then points out how their master was a kind soul who used to get along with our boy, while Captain Marvel was crude to them and put them behind bars. However, our hero among them all is the worst of monsters, who will not even going to get the chance to enter the heavens. Hearing this, the boy balls up his fists, ready to at least give these 2 a ticket to the underworld before he goes. But that is when the brother chimes in, and tries to smooth things over by promising to release the people if our hero lets them bounce. Not surprisingly, the boy immediately denies their request. Jiahong then pipes up, telling the siblings to just put their suppression devices back on. In his defense, the brother reminds the officer that they have not done anything wrong, so they will not be playing along with this. Looks like Jiahong also thinks the same somewhere in the back of her mind, so she remains silent for a moment. Gangyu's got his mind set and tells Jiahong that trying to reason with these wild beasts is like talking to a brick wall. So, she would better let him handle things from here and out. While the boy gears up to deal with them, the brother pipes up once more, saying he's not keen on starting a bloodbath and suggests that if Gangyu hears their backstory, he might change his tune. But the boy is not interested in story time, so he shuts them down. And before things get messy, Gangyu starts covering up the barrier bubble to block Jiahong's view once again. Once she is out of sight, he surrounds those 2 siblings with his reddish energy and hoists them in the air while squeezing them hard enough to make them squirm in pain. Gangyu then recalls a time when a villain once told him how to torture people, but he never knew it would one day come in handy. The siblings start hurling insults, calling our hero the real monster and saying talking to him is like talking to a brick wall. With those final inspiring words, they transform into simple prisoners, who are sweating bullets before they get screwed over. And in the blink of an eye, Gangyu blows them away. When the other monsters come charging at him, he cuts them down too, leaving their heads spinning in the air. Seems like being called a monster over and over really gets under his skin. On the other hand, seeing our hero's annoyed face, the sister starts to feel terrified, and recoils back in fear while watching Gangyu through her crystal ball. Looks like these 2 siblings are a tag team. One's trying to tear down the walls, while the sister's buying her brother some time. To buy her brother even more time, she starts chanting another big spell, summoning furious monsters from a circle. But our guy does not hesitate to blast them away since they are not human. No matter how many come at him, he's just blasting them away in droves, and with that final strike, he takes down all of them, big or small. Of course, keeping our hero in check seems to be way too tough for this lady, so she turns to her brother, asking how much longer he's gonna need. His brother says he needs at least another solid 10 minutes before busting through the wall. So, out of desperation, the sister bites her thumb, and as soon as she slaps the orb for the next round, something comes crashing down from above the ceiling. While the girl is coughing amidst the settling dust, our hero finally steps into view. Once the sister sees him standing there, tears start to flow uncontrollably, while our hero gives her a piece of his mind, saying he thought it would be better if he just went straight to nab her since fighting those useless monsters was a waste of time. Once again, Gangyu makes it clear that this is their final chance to comply and release the captive officers, and in exchange, he will make sure to give them a painless exit. It is a jaw-dropping moment for both of the siblings to see that my guy just busted through those thick layers like it is no big deal. Gangyu then commands them once again to release the officers. As terrified as these two may be, they are still not willing to follow our hero's orders. The boy conjures up a bunch of summoning circles, and with a clap of his hands, these gigantic creatures step out of the circles. There were 4 of these divine-looking beings, each with their own names, but I will not bore you with intros, because Gangyu just slices them up into multiple pieces in the next moment before they even have a chance to move. Seeing their familiars dropping dead pushes the siblings to desperate measures. They immediately hoist those soldiers and threaten our hero, saying if he gets any closer, those soldiers will be goners. But their plan backfires as soon as Gangyu grabs the sister and lets her brother know that if he does not release those soldiers, his sister will meet a miserable end. Without further ado, Gangyu puts the girl through a merciless, agonizing pain, leaving her screaming and her tears falling involuntarily. The brother could do nothing but watch his sister's soul getting torn apart, and there is only so much he can endure seeing her go through that grueling pain. Finally, he surrenders and willingly agrees to release the soldiers. Before leaving the prisoners, the brother wishes to speak with Jia Hong first. But Gangyu remains true to his words and continues subjecting his sister to the grueling pain. With no choice left, the brother finally gives in to our hero's demand, and in the next moment, they both release the officers from their mind control. Looks like the prisoners are also back to their senses too, and before they can make any sense of the situation, my guy starts demolishing them. The blood splatters everywhere as he tears them apart, leaving the siblings utterly terrified. Given how these kids are always feeling terrified seeing all that brutality, there might be a chance that these siblings do not have bad intentions after all, and are just desperate to save themselves. In any case, once the criminals are nothing more than flesh, the officers start to freak out too. Especially after seeing Gangyu, who is supposed to be a hero, just confuses them even more. Instantly, our hero gives them instructions to march upstairs, and as the soldiers scramble to leave, the boy turns to the siblings. Since these two held up their end of the bargain, Gangyu decides to fulfill their wish and gives them permission to talk with Jia. However, he tells them to follow him to a better place to chat, since this kind of sight is not something rather pleasant for a pregnant lady to see. Once they are out of that place, Jia finally appears on the scene, bewildered as usual, and asks what the heck happened here. Gangyu then gives her the good news that the officers have been rescued from the siblings' mind control, and the both of them wish to talk to her before they meet their execution. Jia then tells our hero to just put the damn suppression device on both of them, but she is immediately shut off by our hero with a cold response, who makes it clear that he does not like repeating himself. And for the last time, he lays it straight that everyone on basement floors 2 and below has taken thousands of lives, so he's not letting them go unpunished. Yet again, the siblings protest for their freedom, claiming they have not done anything wrong to deserve the death penalty. They turn to Jia, urging her to vouch for them. Our hero gives the lady a green light to speak, but she only has a few seconds to fill him in. At that moment, Jia tried to speak, but she could not get a single word out in their defense. Since she has got nothing to say, Gangyu decides to just go ahead with the punishment they deserve. The sister's tears are flowing like crazy as she begs not to be killed. But Gangyu's gotta do what he's gotta do. He swings his fist, obliterating everything in its path, leaving a huge cloud of dust. Once the dust settles, he finds both siblings under the protection of Mago, one of the heroes from Equality. Seeing this curveball, the boy is pretty sure these floor 2 criminals could not cast a defensive magic spell that big. So, it is definitely Mago who is behind this shield. Anyway, he gears up a big ball of dark energy in his hand and smashes the barrier with one punch, only to find yet another annoying barrier standing in his way. Gangyu is really feeling ticked off at this sneaky old man. Nonetheless, he keeps on shattering those barriers, but even after what feels like an eternity of smashing, he still cannot reach the siblings. As he struggles to make his way through, we drift back into the past. There, we see the heroes having the time of their lives, with Mago playing around with his children. Amidst all the laughter and fun, Mago calls everyone over and grabs their attention. With a wide grin, he invites everyone to come and play with the kids. While everyone joins in the fun with the children, Gangyu sits alone below a tree, lost in his own thoughts. Suddenly, Mago joins Gangyu's solo party and asks if he does not like hanging out with kids. Gangyu replies that he does not hate kids, he just does not really know how to interact with these little creatures. The old man suggests he should just do what his parents used to do with him. Gangyu then mentions that his parents passed away shortly after he was born, and the only family he had was his older brother. The old man's face immediately turns sour, realizing he touched on a sensitive topic. So, he gently apologizes while dramatically coughing, while Gangyu's face stays expressionless. Meigo then tries to lighten the mood, saying that he'll act like Gangyu's parent, and our hero can pretend to be a kid. Upon hearing this odd request, Gangyu gives him a bewildered look, and the old man quickly reassures him that he's just joking, while pointing out that he has never ever seen our hero giving any face expression until now. He adds that he was not entirely joking either, as our hero can feel free to talk to him as his parent whenever things get tough for him. In response, Gangyu just hopes that kind of time never comes. The scene then cuts to the day of calamity, when Huang was wreaking havoc upon everything in his sight. Our hero's soul shattered as he saw his friends lying dead on the ground. It was the day he cried tears of blood, and as old man Meigo was taking his last breaths, he reassured Gangyu that everything would be alright. As the flashback ends, only one barrier remains between our hero and the siblings. For some odd reason, the boy stops right at the time when he was just only a mere punch away from the siblings, and looked above to the old man. He then lets Jia out of the barrier, and asks if she can read the memories of someone from their illusions. The lady hesitantly says yes, and Gangyu points his finger towards the old man, asking her to read the memories of when Meigo casted this spell on the siblings. A moment later, Jia presents the old man's memories in the palm of her hand, showing a moment where Meigo is dearly embracing his children close to him. Seeing this cozy scene, Gangyu labels the memory as unpleasant, while the lady disagrees, mentioning that it actually looks kind of cute. The boy wonders why he's witnessing these two murders in the old man's memories. In response, Jia explains they are just part of his past, not something she conjured up intentionally. Despite whatever went down in the past, our hero stands firm that he will execute them for their crimes, no matter the circumstances that led them to become murderers. The characters in the memories look somber as they cling to their father figure, knowing what is about to come. Once Jia lets go of those memories, the scene shifts back to the past, into an auction house where an auction of ability users is going on full tilt. Behind bars, in little cages, are the siblings, when life was downright brutal for them at just 6 years old, and the world showed them no mercy at that time. This auction, known as the Ability User Auction, is an underworld affair beneath a fallen city, catering to VIPs who collect rare abilities as a hobby. Apparently, male and male were originally sold off by their father to this shady place. You see, humans with special superpowers always sold like hotcakes, while those with physical transformation abilities had little demand. But the ones with summoning abilities were a dime a dozen in that world, so they were cheap. That is why the two siblings hid their special abilities, avoiding being sold for the longest time. Just when the auction house was considering getting rid of them, that fateful day arrived. There was an enthusiastic buyer for those two, apparently a woman eager to purchase them, who was particularly interested in their ability to summon angels and demons with their powers. The auctioneer asks why she wants to buy them, emphasizing that there are no refunds once the product has been sold. That is when this sadistic lady reveals her twisted motive. She just wants to see the results of mating an angel with a demon. At the time, the siblings were too young to fully grasp what this despicable woman was saying. Seeing their confused faces, she assures them they will understand soon enough. Suddenly, the entire facility starts to shake, and a grand explosion creates a giant hole in the ceiling above them. The meteor-like object is so massive that it demolishes nearby buildings too. Once the explosion settles and the dust begins to clear, bystanders inside the underground auction house find themselves sealed within a familiar green barrier. As we take a look in the sky, we see the old man Meigo and his assistant, Lupus Allen, who is a summoning type ability user. It appears Meigo is here in this demolished city to teach Lupus how to control her summoning powers properly. As the master and apprentice engage in their own skirmish, their attention is grabbed by the siblings on the ground. The duo reveal themselves to be summoning type ability users as well, and plead Meigo to let them tag along. Meigo seems quite interested in taking the two under his wing, while Lupus shows her reluctance. She does not seem keen on anyone else having an exclusive chance of becoming his apprentice other than her. Despite her doubts, the old man heads over to the two siblings and tells them to show their magic powers. Without missing a beat, the duo summons angels and demons, which surprises both adults. It is not common for children to summon angels and demons at their age, since the kids usually summon toys or dogs. It seems the old man's interest is finally piqued, so he wholeheartedly extends his invitation, and decides to teach both of them magic. Over the course of 3 years, Meigo teaches male and male how to use summoning magic. You see, imagination is key for summoning type abilities, and whatever they can imagine can appear through their ability. For example, thinking about a meteor might bring a meteor into real life. Thinking back, Neil probably summons angels because she remembers her mother, who used to protect everyone when she was young. As for the boy, summoning demons might stem from his father's abusive behavior. The old man teaches them that by seeing the world from a broader perspective, they can summon a variety of things. He reassures them that it is fine if they are only interested in summoning certain things, much like the rabbit behind him that always goes for the meteor. He is genuinely curious to see what our duo will end up summoning in the end. That revelation catches both adults off guard, as it is unusual for kids to think about heaven and hell in such a way. Apparently, their mother once told them that kind people go to heaven while evil ones go to hell. Those words have stuck with them, serving as a guiding light in their life, and now they want to create a world where kind people go to heaven and evil ones to hell. Hearing this, the old man pats them both on their heads, giving them a reassuring smile. He believes they can achieve it because he's seen firsthand that these two are actually kinder than most people he's encountered in his life so far. On one fateful day, while everything seemed fine for Mago, he was requested by the Hero Association for help. Hearing this, the old man finds himself reluctant to go, considering they ignored one of his proposals before, and now they are desperate for his assistance. Looks like some serious shit is about to go down, because the lady appears to be freaking out, while reporting further that a Swede, probably one of the villains, has been seen in Finland once again. Naturally, as soon as that name falls into Mago's ears, he is suddenly feeling chill running down his spine. He facepalms in disappointment, seeing equality still dragging their feet, while the trouble is on the horizon. With a heavy heart, he decides to finally return to the equality to sweep up the mess, and instructs the girl to bring the siblings to him for his last meeting. Not surprisingly, the duo is shocked that the old man is taking off, and they even make failed attempts in persuading the old man not to leave, while warmly hugging him for the one last time. The boy then asks how long it is going to take him to come back, to which the old man simply mentions that the opponent this time is a tough nut, so it might take him a few years before he can see them back again. They even insist on tagging along with the old man. But Mago points out that the opponent is far too dangerous, and if they follow him, they will only follow him to their deaths. The girl starts crying, telling the old man that they do not want to get abandoned like before, to which the old man reassures them, and as a parting gift, he enchants them with his magic, while reminding them that they have his abilities symbol on their clothes. So, if they go to his shelter, the people there will look after them. He wishes to meet them again in the future, and tells them to just grow kind-hearted until then. After Mago's departure, the siblings, afraid of meeting new faces, found solace in a remote place. There, they delved into their abilities, determined to grow into kind-hearted heroes worthy of Mago's legacy. Time flew by as they pondered the complexities of right and wrong, emerging 2 years later with a clearer sense of morality. With newfound confidence, they ventured back to their hometown. There, they eagerly put their lessons into practice to make a positive impact on their community, to create their own heaven and hell that they have imagined, what they called as utopia. In just a month, they turned their hometown into their own little slice of utopia. With angel and demon squads at their command, they kept a close eye on everyone, categorizing them based on their actions. Their criteria mirrored the teachings of their mother, such as, do not steal, keep the streets clean, be polite in public, tell the truth, avoid arguments with friends, and other simple, childlike rules. These seemingly mundane standards took on a sacred significance, serving as the foundation for their judgment, and the fact that these rules were simple and easy just made them equally terrifying. Even then, those who passed their stringent standards met a brutal fate at the hands of the siblings. They believed these individuals deserved heaven for their virtuous deeds, so they prayed while mercilessly taking lives of town people. Eventually, word of their twisted utopia reached the ears of the Hero Association, prompting Chairman Utariti to take action. However, only 3 heroes responded to the call, as many were likely on vacation. I will spare you the details of the introduction of these rookie heroes, who were just looking to gain experience to climb the ranks. The guy in the hoodie pointed out that there are only B1 cases available, and there are not any B2 cases available to help them ascend in tier. The chairman then mentions that he has B3 missions as well, to which the blondie just says that putting herself in a dangerous situation is not really her idea of climbing the tiers, so she will pass on that. But she is curious why this B1 mission from some little countryside town is on their radar. She is pretty sure she will not gain any experience points even if she takes it, and the fact that they are just children being categorized as low-ranked B1 villains means they are not worthy of anyone's time, though they are surprised to hear that these kids have already taken over the entire village at such a young age. The chairman further surprises them by mentioning that these little guns are apprentices of Mago. Hearing this, it now kinda makes sense to them how these kids could take down an entire village. So they just suggest telling Mago to deal with them. But the chairman mentions that he's already gone to Finland to deal with a Swede. Suddenly, someone snaps her fingers and grabs everyone's attention. Looks like there is another hero in the mix, who is pretty eager to take the job on her head. This hero goes by the name Q-Thu, the 3rd-tier hero with special summoning powers. So the next day, we see that same candy lady riding herself on her heavy bike to the village, to take care of the job she has picked up. Upon reaching it, she takes off her helmet, and pleasantly enjoys the magnificent scenery before her eyes. It seems like the siblings are not exactly looking forward to rolling out the welcome mat for the newcomer, and they do not seem thrilled about her arrival. Upon reaching the town, she starts making TikTok videos like a spoiled teenager, while speculating whether the people stuck inside are brainwashed or simply asleep. It is a puzzling situation for her, as it does not seem like anyone is dead either. It seems she does not have to wonder too long, as the siblings have already arrived on the scene themselves. As soon as they have her attention, the duo anxiously asks this girl the reason behind her visit here. Seeing those siblings pop out of nowhere just amps up this cosplayer lady's excitement, and she does not even bother to respond to what the siblings just said to her. And by now, she is pretty sure that these two belong to a special category with impressive abilities, so she starts probing them to show more of what they can do. Sister asks her again why she is here, but instead of giving a straight answer, Kyuthu fires back with her own question, like wondering if Meigo, who is their teacher, knows his apprentices belongs to special category, because, apparently, he only takes summoners under his wing. As Kyuthu further talks, the kids stay silent and scared, not sure how to handle her intense questioning. Kyuthu then takes their silences as yes, and becomes certain they definitely have not told anything to Meigo about their special powers. Once they are totally freaked out, the pair starts asking who she is. They are further spooked when they see this confident girl flaunting her pierced tongue as she introduces herself as their senior. Looks like these two had zero clue there was another one in the mix besides the bunny girl until now. That is when this bold chick mentions that Meigo just kicked her out because she was all about sharp stuff. Showing off her wrist with a bunch of cuts, she spills that since she was all about sharp things, Meigo told her that if she wanted to train in attack-type magic, she would also have to do defense magic. But defense magic was not her jam, so she brushed him off. After that, he kinda just started ignoring her and casted her away. Hearing her sad backstory really freaks these two out, while Kyuthu keeps on repeating how terrible that old man was to her. Eventually, she hits her breaking point and starts bawling her eyes out, leaving the kids scared to the point where the girl starts crying too. The atmosphere starts getting heavy with all this negative energy, and before things go completely off the rails, the brother steps in, magic at the ready. He warns this crazy bitch, but before he can finish his threat, thousands of surgical items, daggers, and all sorts of creepy stuff start raining down from the sky, taking out all the humans who were under the siblings' influence. As she subjects those around her to that agonizing pain, her expression shifts from despair to pure pleasure, relishing in the suffering of others. She believes that by doing this, Meigo will surely recognize her once again. Once it is a total bloodbath, she starts cackling like a maniac. And the more guys drop, the more turned on she gets with all this chaos. Meanwhile, the terrified siblings help each other up, the brother checking on his sister to make sure she is alright. When they catch Kyuthu piling up dead bodies in their orb, it freaks them out big time. After taking those innocent lives, this girl just busts out into a happy dance, living every moment to her fullest. As soon as she spots the one guy left standing, she summons another sharp projectile and hurls it at him. But the siblings step in just in time, blocking it and saving the guy. And you betcha, this psycho gets a kick out of seeing the siblings pull off yet another move. She even gives them props for picking up defensive magic from the teacher. Little did she know, there is a puppet heading her way, ready to take her out. Or so we thought. This woman's a step ahead, slashing down the monster in the blink of an eye, while also reminding those two not to let her compliments get to their heads, because they still got a long way to go. The sister instantly labels her as the sinner who is booking a one-way ticket to hell, and there is no doubt about it. To which Kyuthu just shrugs and says she has always wanted to showcase her skills in a place full of people, but that would land her behind the bars even though she is a hero. So, she mostly avoids public displays for that very reason. But hey, thanks to these two, it is like they have laid out a feast for this sadistic bitch, and she is ready to chow down. The girl then raises her hands, summoning something she has been itching to do for ages. After giving it her all, she finally conjures up this gigantic cutter, which even leaves her bleeding through her eye sockets and nose. Apparently, the power of imagination holds immense importance for summoners. Kyuthu's experiences, particularly the sensation she derived from taking numerous lives, seemed to amplify her imaginative capacity, ultimately fortifying her summoning abilities. Remarkably, this marked the first instance she successfully conjured something of such magnitude. In the aftermath, this crazy woman just keeps gazing at the sky, cackling away, while giving our duo a big old thank you for creating the perfect playground for her. And just as she is bidding her final adieu, her plans take a sudden and gruesome turn as she is easily consumed by a demonic entity, leaving only her outstretched hand behind. The one responsible for this abrupt end is none other than the sister, who, after having undergone a similar transformation as Kyuthu, demonstrated her newfound strength in this act. For male, witnessing Kyuthu is nothing more than a horrifying demon. Just made her summoning ability stronger as well. Meanwhile, the brother is left speechless at the sight of her sister while she grapples with the weight of having taken a life. Yet, her brother offers solace, reminding her that the being she dispatched was not human but a pure demon. A year passed since the incident, and the duo managed to create an even grander utopia under their rule. However, their status took a sharp turn when they were flagged as new cases by the Hero Association, this time labeled as Level B2 villains of Ruculus Prison. Meigo, upon seeing his children displayed as villains, breaks into a cold sweat, utterly perplexed by how things escalated to this point. Meanwhile, the chairman confirms the news to Meigo, acknowledging that these individuals are indeed his former apprentices. Desperate to reconnect with them, Meigo decides to visit them personally. However, his attempt is promptly halted by the chairman, who asserts that Meigo will not be involved in this case. You see, the chairman's already fuming because Meigo was supposed to kill a Swede on the spot before returning. But instead, he hands him over to the government all alive and kicking. Nevertheless, despite the chairman's disagreement, the old man is ready to go against this fatty's decision. Well, the chairman's just about ready to blow his lid. He smashes that maze with his bare hands, making it crystal clear that Meigo is not going anywhere. In response, the old man is gearing up to face off with the chairman, straight up calling this fat guy a lunatic obsessed with authority, and nothing else. Before things escalate, Captain Marvel saunters in, breaking the tension by announcing that she will be taking over. And by the way, her real name's Rayasa, the third-tier hero. Seems like this old coot's more than happy to send her in, despite all of Meigo's resistance. Meigo finds himself startled for a moment as the woman strides towards him. With a reassuring tone, she tells him to just put a little faith in her and promises that she will not let him down. Back in the City of Justice, our panicking duo spots an outsider crashing their utopia without permission. They are both visibly upset to see that this time, one of the greatest heroes has arrived, already feeling down thinking about how many sins she might have racked up so far. Once Rayasa finally enters the City of Justice, the first thing she spots are the humans under the control of the two siblings. These people are not ordinary humans but rather heroes who were previously sent to deal with these kids. Now they look worse for wear, but Rayasa is relieved to see they're still alive. Suddenly, the siblings appear in the sky and immediately ask about this outsider's identity and why she came here. The woman introduces herself as Hero Rayasa and states that she's simply here to bring both of them back. Not surprisingly, the siblings grit their teeth in frustration at seeing another hero popping up to throw a wrench in their plans. They waste no time summoning their monsters and telling Rayasa to leave. They make it clear that if she doesn't go back, she'll be sent to hell. Surprisingly, Rayasa agrees to go back immediately, but she places a condition that, in return, both siblings will have to come with her. After a few moments, the entire horde of creatures has been burned to a crisp, and both kids are absolutely terrified of Rayasa's might. She dramatically walks towards them, her cape dancing in the air. She can see that these children are kind-hearted and do not sense any killing intent in their attacks. She feels really sad, thinking that if the association had sent some genuinely good heroes to console these kids, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. She understands that, from their perspective, they thought they were doing something good, but she reminds them that their actions weren't entirely right. The siblings recoil in fear as she marches forward, but Rayasa tells them not to panic, because she's not here to hurt anyone. She solemnly reveals that they've done bad things, and their teacher Meigo is really sad because of them. The siblings go silent upon hearing this. The girl then asks if their teacher is actually back, but her brother tells her not to believe Rayasa, saying she's lying. The woman repeats herself, saying it is the truth. She extends her hand and warmly tells them to release their control over everyone and come back with her. At that moment, both kids felt the warmth of a parent and embraced her hand, and finally started walking with her. After a while, the kids are shocked to see their teacher standing right before them, who followed Rayasa all the way here. They rush to their teacher, bursting into tears as they tell him that they have abilities belonging to a special type, and their mother asks them to keep that fact hidden from others. They apologize to their teacher for lying to him, knowing that Meigo only takes summoners as his apprentices. The old man denies it immediately and asks who told them that. That is when they reveal that a hero named Kyuthu said it and claimed she was Meigo's apprentice. This news shocks the old man, who reveals that he has never taken anyone as his apprentice other than the siblings and the bunny girl Lupus. He explains that he only met Kyuthu once at the association and just gave her a piece of advice, nothing more. After reuniting, they catch up, sharing what happened over the last 3 years. The siblings talk about how they worked to grow up as good children and how other people didn't understand their efforts. Both Meal and Mail still don't understand why people didn't recognize their hard work, even until now. While the old man watches the kids resting, Rayasa appears and asks if he's finished talking with them. The old man has his own question, asking if she can entrust them to him. The lady reminds him that even though the siblings didn't kill anyone in the village, they still held thousands of people hostage and killed a hero, making it hard for them to avoid the death penalty in court. Meigo tries to reason with her, saying they simply strayed from the right path because they were young and have now realized their mistakes. He promises that if she entrusts them to him, he will help them understand what they did wrong. She replies in response that this decision is not hers to make, but the old man persists, reminding her that they are just kids. She solemnly responds that she understands what he's saying and doesn't agree with the law that the association leader changed to allow for the execution of underage children. But she can't go against it since law is law. She further points out that a hero's job is not to rehabilitate criminals, although she understands his perspective. With so many problems in the world, she asks him if he would work with her from now on. The old man then questions how this relates to the siblings. Rayasa explains that she needs his help to reshape the world. Her determination is visible in her eyes, and the old man understands her resolve. He agrees to help but sets a condition. He wants her assurance that these kids will not be sentenced to death until they reach adulthood. He asks her to allow him to use his ability on them so they can survive. Rayasa gives him the green light. He then casts a barrier over the siblings, the same barrier our heroes struggle to break. Now knowing the full story, Gangyu is at a loss for words, unsure how to proceed with this new understanding. His mind drifts back to one of his own memories, where Gangho introduced his brother to Rayasa, who was eager to work with our hero to change the world. In the present, he stands up, and the little boy speaks up immediately. He says they simply judged people based on their rules they created, and asks if law is not just a set of rules made by people of the world. He questions what the difference is between them and the laws made by others. That is when the lady steps forward, attempting to explain that she, Ganghu, and Gangho were raised with the intense rehabilitation of these two children. She tries to clarify that she is not saying they did anything wrong, but before she can continue, our hero traps her inside a red bubble. With energy strings dancing in his palm, he walks towards the children, who are growing more terrified by the second, begging to be spared. The warden still prepares his fist to strike as the brother begs for their lives and admits their wrongdoing. The duo is absolutely terrified, tears flowing involuntarily as they plead with their teacher to save them. Finally, Ganghu's terrifying fist comes crashing down, shaking the entire prison. Surprisingly, he directs his punch into the ground. The siblings are left trembling in terror, and the warden's face shows absolute frustration and horror. His sanity is being consumed by conflicting thoughts. Gangyu struggles with what is right or wrong, haunted by memories of the siblings. Suddenly, the siblings are torn apart, their remnants scattering like paper. Well, the perpetrator is revealed to be this same woman who harbors a twisted obsession with marrying our hero, and she appears prepared to marry him right away. As the remnants rain down around Gangyu, the woman mocks him for overthinking, suggesting that such contemplation does not suit him. She compliments how handsome her husband looks in person, clearly delusional in her perception of their relationship. Let's face it, I had never thought that those poor siblings would meet their end in such a tragic way, really feeling sorry for them. The woman who just popped into view does not even feel a shred of shame for her actions, and happily proceeds to introduce herself. Before she can even share her name, Gangyu swings a punch aimed straight at her filthy face. But her lackey, Canis, immediately jumps in, surprisingly surviving this fatal punch with his bare body. He then tells Gangyu to show some basic manners, but the lady scolds her own lackey instead, reminding him that our hero will eventually become his master, so he's the one being rude. Canis quickly apologizes to his lady, Sinka, who then tries to formally introduce herself once again. Well, the warden is not waiting for any introductions and swings another punch aimed at her. Once again, his punch fails to reach her face, effortlessly blocked by her powers. She tells him to stop being so impatient since they will be seeing each other for a long time. She prefers a little chat first and finally gives out her name, Sinka. She's a special type power user known for space manipulation and confidently states that she's the woman who will become the Eve of a new mankind. The warden is beyond confused, wondering what on earth she's talking about. She repeats herself once again, saying she will become Eve. That's when our guy takes a big sigh and officially declares he's tired of all this nonsense. He's mentally exhausted and just cannot believe a crazy bitch has appeared out of nowhere. Hearing his rather colorful remarks, Sinka, just like any crazy person, claims she's not crazy. In fact, she insists she's the most sane person in the world, and naturally, her lackeys nod along like bobbleheads. She tells our hero that mankind is currently in a dangerous situation and is degenerating even as they speak. If this continues, she fears they will go extinct sooner rather than later. Of course, Gangyu is startled by all of this and has no clue how to react to this nonsense. Sinka then reminds him that he's part of the Hero Association, specifically belonging to equality. She assumes he thinks villains are the threat to humanity, or that past heroes with absolute authority were the problem. However, she says that this is entirely wrong. According to her, the real problem eating away at humankind is the ordinary people with no powers. Well, my guy facepalms himself again out of utter exhaustion because all of this is just a drag to him. But the girl keeps going, saying that people with no powers must be purged and only those with superior genes should produce future generations. Due to the sacrifices made by those with superior genes, the genes that were supposed to be culled have multiplied like rats. She gives an example, stating that the second-gen equality heroes led by Rayasa possessed incredible genes, yet they still ended up dying, even though they should have lived longer according to nature's law. She believes that it's natural for those not selected by evolution to go extinct, but heroes tried to stop that. She assures our hero that he's fine now since he's no longer a hero and doesn't have to follow their ideology. Looks like the warden is absolutely getting mentally exhausted, and he can only go so far with all this bull crap. The lady continues her spiel and states that she is glad he already enjoys eliminating those with weaker genes, which is the main reason she's fallen head over heels for him. She believes that Ruculus Prison is a gathering spot for superior humans who will become the new mankind unfairly imprisoned for eliminating inferior humans. Her plan involves eliminating all heroes who hinder mankind's evolution and ridding the world of inferior humans, aiming to create a society where only those with strong abilities thrive, a place she calls the Alpha World. She eagerly tells our exhausted warden that if strong heroes change their minds and join her, she will include them in her new mankind, promising a less strict world. Finally, Gangu speaks up, his tired eyes and annoyed face showing his frustration. He states that he tried his best not to kill anyone who is not a criminal, but it seems killing is inevitable at this point. The lady just feels kick at the mere mention of killing, prompting her lackey to clarify that the warden did not mean what she is thinking. Sinka tells her lackeys to shut up, and reassures our hero that they both will take part in killing later. After dramatically clearing her throat, Sinka labels Gangu as the Adam of her new world, with herself as Eve. She even has started imagining her offsprings leading the evolution of mankind. Or at least she thinks so. She reveals she even considered making Huang her Adam, which is why she launched the EMP attack. Gangu immediately perks up at the mention of the EMP strike. They had been searching for the culprit behind the attack, and it seems he may not need to look any further to find his brother's killer. She claims that she never expected the prison security to be so tough, as no external attacks could breach it. That is why, after obtaining the internal floor plan, she used a customized EMP and blasted it from within using her abilities. And once she breached inside the prison, she spoke to Huang afterward. But he's still underage and has not even gone through puberty yet. And according to her, the Awakener's abilities fully develop once they reach puberty. With time being precious and her mind full of imagination, she quickly devised a wild plan. Her crazy scheme involves Gangu clapping her cheeks to make children before Huang reaches adulthood. Once that little guy matures, he would also clap her to make more babies to progress mankind. She is absolutely thrilled to have found their superior genes and cannot wait to execute her plan. She talks about her vision of them becoming a family. Despite not being blood related, she is expecting our hero to reconcile with Huang. However, the warden is beyond pissed at this moment. His disappointment and anger know no bounds as he asks them once again if they were behind the EMP attack. The girl immediately grows worried, assuring him she did not intend for his brother to die. But her mood quickly shifts back to happiness as she suggests that even though he lost his brother in the EMP strike, he can still build a new family with her. She activates her spatial powers once more and, before leaving, calmly asks if he has decided to start a family with her. To this, our hero calmly declares that he made his decision long ago. He extends his hand toward her spatial magic, dark lightning crackling around them, tearing through her space. With a voice filled with rage and anguish, he tells her he's going to make her regret everything by making her death as painless as possible, his eyes showing just how furious and hurt he is. The girl recoils back with a concerned look on her face, asking why he's so dead set on ripping her apart. Meanwhile, Canis, on the other hand, states that he's got a bad feeling about this. The warden's eyes keep bleeding in anger and sorrow, while Sinka switches back to her lovey-dovey mode before disappearing. She jokes that a lover's spat does not sound half bad and teases she wants to get to know him better after they duke it out. Meanwhile, the boy keeps tearing down the barrier, and Sinka gets more excited, ignoring Canis' warnings about the growing danger. Finally, Gangu's punch inches closer, but she quickly opens a portal and throws him out of the prison into the sky. Before the portal closes, she waves goodbye, promising to catch up outside later and advising him to chill out until then. Once she vanishes from the scene, the boy crackles with that intense lightning once again and crashes down like a goddamn meteor from the sky, drilling a hole directly into the prison and reaching the maniac woman and her crew in the blink of an eye. He stares straight at her, while the girl is amazed to witness such a dazzling display of power. Then, the warden vanishes from his position with dark ominous lightning covering the entire area. He appears right before them, but Sinka just chuckles and vanishes from the place and reappears somewhere else. Gangu jumps into the air ready to land a kick on her face, and as expected, she vanishes from there as well, leaving the warden demolishing the bare ground under his crushing kick. The lady pokes fun at him through her portals, challenging him to catch her, and immediately, the warden starts crackling with ominous energy again and utters a word, 1. With that little command, his hand transforms into a claw-like appendage, which totally blows the lady's mind, while Gangu wastes no time lunging at her with his sharp claws. But then, she vanishes from her place once again, and appears right behind him. This time, our hero's claw appears instantaneously right before her face, and this game of whack-a-mole continues as he follows her through every portal she opens. Once he has finally caught up to him, she is now visibly scared, a little tear welling up in her eyes. Just as his hand is about to grab her, he is grabbed by this cat-like lady whose flexible paper-like body wraps him up entirely. The girl sweetly pronounces a cat voice in his ear, but it seems he is not much of a fan of cat girls. So, he grabs her by the head and slams her forcefully into the ground, creating shockwaves through the area. He lifts her up again, ready to pound her back down, while her subordinates just watch, seeing her tossed around like a rag doll. After a few seconds, there is nothing left of her but a splatter of blood on the ground. But wait, looks like this cat lady is not quite dead yet. She reminds Sinka that messing with this guy is dangerous, noting she could have died too if she had kept playing with him, and she complains about losing one of her lives because of him. Well, they do say a cat has multiple lives, and that is probably why this lady's still kicking. Gangyu gears up for round 2, while the lady looks completely dejected, eventually bursting into tears over losing such precious genes. She hates that he is pushing her to desperate measures. Finally, the warden awakens his mode 5, and these ominous energy balls start materializing. Sinka gets serious too this time, using her multiple dimensions to open a bunch of portals all at once, and a bunch of people start coming out of those portals. The boy is pretty shocked to see these newcomers crashing the party, while the lady, with a seriously somber expression, tells him to greet everyone. Apparently, they are the new rulers of mankind now, and they are joining her cause to make a new world. First up are the B3 level prisoners. The first one is this edgy guy who cannot believe Mago's dead because he was itching to take out that old coot by himself. He is your typical brooding type, known as a Swede, a summoner type. Next is this cat lady named Ho, a physical powerhouse. Then there is the old man Friatua, packing some serious physical type powers as well. This boy, Natura, is a special type power user, and there is this kid, Pekanu, crying her eyes out, also a special type. Then there is this guy with the smoke pipe, Vidi, who has got a special type abilities too. And do not forget the clown lady, Mores, another special type. There are 2 others, Zinxi, the physical type girl, and the monster next to her, Tiburon, also a physical powerhouse. Lastly, there is this guy Hyan Juang, rocking some special abilities of his own. Then come the B4 criminals. There is this girl known as Tatsujin, a special type who is also handy in the physical type powers. Then there is Stiffness, this cocky, pumped up dude who is all about the physical power. Another arrogant guy, Terapier, is also a physical type user. And let us not forget Maldity, the summoner and special type user who is a bit on the weird side. After them, there is this alien-like thing named Hyro, who is rocking some special abilities. Finally, the B5 criminals show up before our hero. There is Ahura, a special type lady, and of course, Huang Xunwen, another special type, who requires no introductions. Looks like I wasted my breath introducing these people for nothing, because now they are about to become mincemeat. My guy has unleashed all his power, and that maniac kid just watches as the warden activates Zero Mode, the final form where he's not even looking human anymore. He charges straight at the maniac holding a flesh ball, itching for another round with our hero. He readies his demonic claws, and their powers clash in a dazzling mix of blue and red. The whole prison, peaceful a moment ago, descends into chaos as the roar that seems to swallow everything echoes through the halls. The onlookers of this fight are absolutely horrified by the brutal way they are going at it. Some are even enjoying the clash, wondering if any other prisoners have been taken down by the shockwaves of their clash. Meanwhile, the shockwaves are so intense that people in the command room are freaking out, worried the prison might collapse right on top of them. The lady in charge is on the verge of tears, never imagining things would come to this. Inside the prison, other prisoners are terrified to see our hero in Zero Mode. You see, the prisoners of B3 and B4 were captured by the Equality heroes, but none of them have seen Seo Gangu in battle mode like this. Even that alien-like thing now understands why Ryasa never let our hero loose against villains. One man standing there claims Gangu is the reincarnation of death, embodying death in flesh form. Those witnessing his final form for the first time are in awe. Some feel jealous, while others sadness, but among them all, Huang is the only one feeling happiness. He is truly delighted to witness the warden's battle mode and asks why he did not reveal this final form during their previous fight. Nonetheless, as he praises him, my guy charges forward. Huang manages to throw up a barrier, but he still takes a hit that leaves his mouth bleeding. Then the kid starts throwing a barrage of power balls, leaving the warden staggered a bit, but he bounces back right away and charges right back at him. He picks up the godly speed, and soon gets hit by a wall of power that slows him down. Well, it looks like the kid condensed space ahead of him, causing an explosion as Gangu tries to forcefully make his way forward. This wild girl finds this brat pretty scary because he's so strong with just his ability, not even using any physical combat skills. And right now, he's just a kid, making her shiver at the thought of him as an adult, imagining what kind of monster he could become. Meanwhile, the maniac laughs heartily, calling Gangu back. His wish is soon granted as he takes a solid punch right to his pretty face that leaves him gushing blood from his mouth. He then gets another gut-busting punch to the belly, sending him crashing backward and hitting the ground with such force it leaves nothing but dust and rubble. The onlookers are amazed, and the monster standing beside the girl states it is a fight between monsters. But just like that, this monster guy and the loudmouth girl get their heads chopped clean off, as if nothing happened. Once our hero zips past those headless bodies, he strikes at a Swede, who saves himself at the last moment by pulling out Mago's barrier. He calls it a masterpiece but regrets once again that he died so quickly. He infuriates our hero by asking if he's feeling nostalgic seeing his teammates' magic being used. Well, that does it. The boy just shatters the barrier with his bear claw, and a Swede starts feeling jealous of all the strength my guy's got packed inside him. Once the barrier shatters into pieces, that one-eyed alien guy attacks the warden, and his kick surprisingly sends him flying in the other direction. We already know that as powerful as that kick might be, it is nothing for our hero. And this mud doll soon finds himself looking at the warden, who is more infuriated than ever. Before the boy can unleash his wrath on this alien, Huang interrupts him once again, challenging him to play with him. He is pretty sure that no matter how powerful the warden looks now, he still appears to be holding back his true strength. The kid wants to see it all, and strikes a nerve with the warden by asking if he's holding back because of the other prison officers, afraid they might become part of collateral damage. Well, Huang knows it can't be helped, since our boy is a softie after all, so he eagerly decides to create a playground just for the two of them. Suddenly, the scene transitions outside where a cloud of dust gathers, signaling a storm which is about to interrupt. Right on cue, the roof of the prison cell begins to shatter and warp, plunging the entire building into chaos. Soldiers stumble and barely keep themselves standing in this heavy shaking. I have no clue what the hell is going on exactly, but whatever it is seriously messed up. Even this guy looking at the sky seems terrified by what he's witnessing. Meanwhile, the one causing all this laughs maniacally, inviting everyone to go all out and play. As the director and her soldiers scream in terror, the entire prison cell appears to collapse. Before I can make sense of what the actual hell is happening, the episode ends on a sizzling note, leaving us on a cliffhanger. This is where the latest chapters end, so we'll have to wait for more chapter releases to find out what happens next. If you're invested in this story, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for future uploads. Until next time. We continue the story with a havoc wrecking on the prison, where everything is collapsing because of the huge dark mana pressuring the fortress like walls, and everyone is trying to protect themselves from the falling rubble as they have no idea what's happening. Suddenly, the special strings of our hero start to engulf the staff of the prison as the director yells in frustration at what the hell is happening this time. Soon, almost all the staff of the prison turned into red balls and are rooting towards the space, because if they stayed in the prison, they are going to become stickers beneath the raining boulders. The reason for all this mass destruction is the maniac, who seems to be enjoying this sight a lot, and is impressed by the build quality of the prison, complimenting it to be quite sturdy. Right then, our protagonist charges at him to land a punch as he believes that this must be a right time to do so, but a portal is created at the moment of impact, and Gangyu vanishes in this portal. This is the portal of Crybaby, who was rejected earlier, as she is blabbering about how one should not interfere with other people when they are using their abilities. After that, she turns around asking his subordinates that they should leave from here too because there is too much dust here. Meanwhile, Tatsu is thinking about something, and she gets on her knees, breaking the ground through his palm, as she is about to show everyone what she is made up of, which grabs the attention of Sinka. She is charmed to see that the ponytail girl has just brought out a katana, and asks her what she is planning to do with this. However, she does not respond to Sinka. Instead, she swings her sword which tears through the walls, and creates a space for them to escape. It looks like Sinka is really impressed by it. Although, the marriage-obsessed lady asks her why she wasted her strength like that, because they could have just gone out using his portals, as she orders his subordinates to gather around so they can leave, while Tatsu is still silent. Now the scene changes and we are not in a public space in mid-city, as the people are surprised to see our hero in his punching posture standing in the middle of the road. The sneaky bitch really pulled out a great move. Suddenly, the portal opens up again, Gangyu vanishes from there right away, while people are still wondering what was that thing. Now the Red Devil, clearly enraged, is standing in the middle of nowhere, and a huge condensed ball of some rocks is hanging in the air. On top of this condensed ball, Huang is present, who uses his power to blast off this condensed ball, and laughs like a maniac, while chanting boom. After that, a huge blast of blue mana takes place, smashing big boulders of these rocky balls like meteorites in all the directions, while our warden is still standing right beneath it. Soon everything is flat on the ground, and huge craters are created as a result of these large boulders filled with mana, which struck like asteroids on the ground. After that, Huang steps down on the ground and dramatically walks towards our hero, who is down on his knees by the impact of this attack, and it seems like his power is going down because one of his eyes is no more in stage 0. However, he still manages to get up for another duel with the maniac in the crater where the blast happened, while all the criminals are watching this sight from the higher ground. Sinka orders everyone to not interfere in this battle because they are going to be just spectators here. Meanwhile, none of them pass any remarks over it, which shows they have got an idea that they will be annihilated if tried to intervene. Also, they cannot defy the orders of Boss Lady 2. The reason why these B3 and B4 criminals are listening to Sinka, even though they don't look like the type to listen, is because she offered to fulfill their desires. The bitch used the desire of these criminals, the feelings that all humans have, and was able to successfully get them all to join her alpha world. But there were also some other reasons. Some of them were not easy to persuade, like a Swede, the green-head fellow, who reasoned with her if he does not accept her offer then what is going to happen. To which she warns him that, although it is saddening but he is going to die if he refuses. Another case was of Huang Xunwen, who laughed at this concept of new mankind, and he finds her really amusing and interesting that she wants to marry Gangyu for that reason, and after that she will marry Huang too, and it brings tears to his eyes because of continuous laughing. At the same time, Sinka, being completely delusional, is actually glad that he thinks like that. Anyway, the kid tells her that there is a problem because he finds fighting with Gangyu more interesting than the offer, or the concept she has come up with, which shocks her. The pleasure that he derives from fighting his rival is more than the concept of marrying this manipulator. But for the amount of time we have known Sinka, she is definitely not going to give up, as she tells him that if he is going to look at the short-term enjoyment, he is going to become a dopamine addict, so he needs to think for the long term. The lady tries to trick him by saying that if he succeeds in killing Gangyu, then what fun is he going to have in the life after? But the little one does not seem to be worried about it because he believes that he is going to die in the end too, and it's okay as he is going to enjoy himself while dying. Now she throws another card at him that if she gives birth to a child with Gangyu, and another birth afterwards with him, so when these two will grow up they are going to keep him entertained. Also, once he grows up he will become stronger than he is now, and then he can have even more fun fighting Gangyu than he does now. So this crazy woman asks him to look at the bigger picture, because if he is going to work with her, he will be able to have fun until his dying moments. This changes the expression of Huang, as his eyes glow bright and chin spreads wide, making Sinka believe that her words have worked magic on him. Right then, he decides to give it a try, considering it is going to be fun, and accepts her offer, which makes her give happy expressions. After this call, she praised him for making the right decision. However, he still has some confusion, as he raises a point that he doesn't love her, so how are they going to get married in the future? Sinka is ready for every answer, as she confidently walks towards him saying it is okay, because she is sure he will come to love her by then, while showcasing her beautiful pair of melons right in his face. You nerds also got 2 good reasons for loving her too, I bet. Now enough history lesson. Get back to the senses, folks, as our hero just smashes the shit out of the little one by punching him in the guts and thrashes him on the side wall of the crater. The gushes of blood can be seen erupting from his mouth, which definitely shows the impact of that critical punch. He wipes his mouth, laughing as he is having fun, and decides that using a single hand is not going to work for him, and he might have to drop the ball of flesh he is hanging onto. After that, he mocks the warden of the prison to say something, as he is completely silent, and no words of heroism can be seen coming from his mouth. This makes Huang uneasy as he believes he is giving him the silent treatment, and he asks him if he is going to remain silent for the whole time or if he is unable to talk in this super form. The shorty is now playing the bad game because he has just crossed his limits by telling our boy that this ball of condensed flesh is the remains of his brother, with that absolute maniac expression. This makes Gangyu lose his mind, and his anger has no limits now because it is the last thing in the world that he wants to hear about, and this makes him shout loudly as he jumps forward to grab the condensed flesh from the hands of this criminal. But Huang is more focused on the fact that he can speak in this form too, so he is successful in finding it out. Next up, we see an enraged warden dashing towards the bastard, who used the dead brother to make him mad, while he is bouncing the flesh ball in his hand. Now Huang is powering up too, as the rocks beneath his feet are rising up immersed with his energy, and these small rocks have molded into unlimited sharp cones, acting like spears, making their way in the direction of our boy. Gangyu takes them head on as he smashes his power fist, and the energy strings repel these sharp rocky pins, breaking them off, and diverging this rain of rocky spears coming from all directions. During this continuous dodging, he notices the condensed flesh coming in his direction, and he braces himself to attack it too, and as he is about to shoot it down, he stops. All of a sudden, he decides not to hit it, and controls himself because if it is really true, it is the flesh of his dead brother, and that is why he stopped. However, Huang has an idea about it, as he takes this opportunity to use this condensed flesh as a cannonball, and abruptly increases its speed, which caught our red devil unguarded, and hit him right in his abdomen. Because the power is so great he falls feet away from his initial position. Soon after the ball serves its purpose, the little one pulls back the condensed flesh, and starts bouncing it in his hands, while laughing hysterically about it. He starts walking towards the fallen hero, and points out that he cannot attack this ball, which is such a shame. As soon as Gangyu starts to get on his feet, the B5 criminal tells him that now he has got an idea, and I am sure it must be one of his evil mocking schemes. The little one asks the keeper of the prison if he will be unable to attack him if he eats this condensed flesh, sparking his anger again. Although, he tells him that it is too big for him to eat in a single bite, so he will compress it a little more to make it easier for him to swallow it. On hearing this shit talk, our boy jumps from his position, and with a flash of thunder kicks this irritating kid, and thrashes him into the ground. This makes the kid cry out loudly in the pain, and blood oozes out of his mouth. This impact of kick has created another mini crater in a crater, as rock smashes out with a blast. Gang Yu is standing over him, with one foot on his chest, staring him down like he is going to tear apart him, and he raised his hand, accumulating all the possible power in this punch as he lands it right on his face, and huge power surges can be seen making it wave around the spot. Furthermore, the warden is not stopping here at all, as he has become Mike Tyson, and is smashing him with punches from both hands, one blow after another, while the alien, ponytail girl, and stiffness are watching it very carefully. Again, the power of Gang Yu's current stage starts to go down, as the mask peels off from one of his eyes again, seeing this little brat hold up his arm to block his attack, and then an immense blue mana makes his body glow. The warden is shocked to see this happening, because even after taking this much beating from him, Huang is still enjoying it and laughing over it, and surprisingly he still has enough power to fight back. Suddenly, there is a huge blast of energy that goes straight up to space, and it's so powerful that all of them are staring at its reach over the horizon. All of them are shocked at this display of power, because none of them can imagine taking any of these guys in a one-on-one battle, while Sinka is speechless too. Suddenly, her expression changes as she joins both his hands and Awa, eyes widened as she finds this energy surcharge so beautiful, although she just cares about the power that is residing in them, and how she can have a child with them to renew the concept of mankind. After that, she tells her subordinates that it is such a sad sight. Only if both of them decide to patch things up it will be really nice for everyone, especially her. But her subordinates do not agree with her at all, and they tell her that it is not possible at all. Meanwhile, Hyan, who is a B3 level, is looking deep into the crate and informs them that the fight is nearing its end, because both of them are lying at the corners of the ring, really beaten up like pulp. The maniac is not laughing anymore, as it seems like he has reached his limits, and he has seen a real-life monster against whom he does not stand a chance. Meanwhile, the warden is back in his normal human form, and is trying to get back on his feet, although his body is shivering badly, as he has taken quite a lot of damage too. Gang Yu's eyes are still filled with rage as it feels like he is not going to spare him at all, and he is finally on his feet. This power of ultimate hate for Huang is not letting him give up. Suddenly, the little brat's eyes widened, as if he had seen the angel of death, and it is fair to say he has, because the special red strings of energy are sweeping through the ground like it is a pit hole of snakes. This is looking absolutely stunning, showcasing the strength of our hero, who is still fighting like a champion, and is ready to deliver his final blow. Suddenly, the string starts dancing everywhere around, intermingling with each other, creating something gigantic that even the remaining criminals, who are standing on the higher ground, are watching it like they are looking at the Burj Khalifa, and the shadow of this thing can be seen on their faces, while they are all awestruck, wondering what that thing is. This makes Sinka yell, "What is that thing?" as a huge dome-like structure has been developed by those intermingling strings, which is covering the whole area of the crater, making it impossible for these people to look inside it. Meanwhile, in the inside of the dome, Huang is laughing at this sight, asking him the number of special moves that Gang Yu has, because with the number of these incredible moves it is clearly impossible for anyone to defeat him. After that, he calls his name and asks our hero how it was. Elaborating his question further, he asks again how killing someone feels, and Gang Yu does not respond to this question at all, as he is silently hearing him talk. Furthermore, Huang asks another question if he feels disappointed about killing like that, just as he does, because for them it is a matter of single touch, and it is not satisfying enough for one to release his pent-up emotions, because as things stand, Gang Yu took the job of a warden in prison because he wanted to punish the criminals who used to kill people, and with such great power it is a matter of second before they perishes. This infuriates our hero more, and he yells at the kid to shut his fucking mouth, to which he mockingly replies so what he is going to do if he keeps blabbering shit. Now Huang is back in his character, as he starts smiling like a maniac, and asks him if he now feels refreshed after having released those pent-up emotions, while going all out playing with him. Also, he adds that Gang Yu must have felt utterly frustrated trying to keep his powers suppressed all this time because he couldn't find a worthy opponent like him this whole time, and he had to journey with those pieces of trash, hinting towards the Hero Association's hunters, who are a part of Gang Yu's journey, and he wants our boy to validate this theory of his. This made the warden more angrier, and he tells this little shit that he knows nothing, not even an inch of his feelings and life, as blood drops fall from his eyes. This dialogue reminded me of Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. After that, Huang looks up at the mass-level dome that has covered everything up, and concludes that this must be a really dangerous skill, and most probably Gang Yu's last one too, while he tells him that he is at his limits too, which is too bad because he wanted to have more fun. He also shares his ambition with him, that if he becomes an adult, like Sinka said, then will he be able to defeat him. But Gang Yu ruins his future plans by telling him that this thing will never happen because he will be dying right here, so there is no chance of him becoming an adult. Meanwhile, outside the dome, Sinka is really tense as she has no idea what is happening inside this massive ball. She is yelling from outside to know what is happening in there because she has a purpose for both of them. And finally she decides to open a portal to take a peek inside, and she is completely baffled by seeing what is happening to Huang, and yells his name in helplessness. However, it seems like our hero has already destroyed this kid, as his nasty red strings have been pierced inside Huang's body, and he is completely motionless. As we head into the next chapter, the guy who was earlier laughing like a maniac is now screaming in pain as the special attack of our hero has turned the antagonist into a puppy. Sinka is still yelling his name in desperation as she could not stand this horrible sight, and she finally succeeds in creating a portal right between those red energy strings and pulling the little brat out of there. She puts the kid on her lap, who is completely still while blood is all over his outfit, and those energy strings are still pierced in his body. The purple-eyed lady yells at his team to heal him now, and one of the B4 criminals named Terapier, who is a physical type, dark-skinned white-haired man, comes forward asking the lady to step aside as he is going to heal him. He gets down on his knees and slashes his right hand in Huang's body. He does not believe it as he gets surprised to notice that this kid used his ability to protect his vital points under such intense battle, and compliments him that he has impeccable combat instincts, which are quite rare. Suddenly, those red strings start wrapping around the arm of Terapier, which he is using to heal the kid. After the healing is done, he gets up and informs Sinka that he is done with it, while she tries to wake him up so she can be sure that the healing worked on him. This guy Terapier is honestly looking like Belarians from House of Dragons, as he lifts his head to observe the ability of Gangu wrapped around his hand, and is really uncomfortable with such kind of unsettling ability. Surprisingly, the brown coat guy cuts off his hand from where the strings have caught him, while Kitty Girl and Ponytail Girl are silently watching him doing this weird stuff. However, it does not matter because he has just regenerated another arm, looking like an arm of a monster, with striking veins displayed all over it, giving it a heinous look, and he asks his fellow B4 criminals about what they should do about this warden. Someone interrupts in the conversation and tells them what else they need to do other than killing him, and this is the alien guy, who kicked Gangu earlier in the prison walls. Meanwhile, Sinka jumps in the conversation and asks them to hold on before they carry out this killing, because she wants to talk to him one last time about the offer she had made, thinking that he might agree with her now, while our boy is drained of all his energy and is lying upside down on the ground. Gangu is such a beast of a guy, as he still gets up, while his eyes are bleeding, body is aching but still he gets up, slowly walking towards the condensed flesh of his brother, and finally he gets there and lifts it up, looking at it silently, but his facial expressions are saying a lot. It feels like this moment is spanning over 1,000 years, because everywhere there is silence while he is still staring at the condensed flesh, remembering his brother. Now, as we see he is crying blood tears, dripping from his face. Meanwhile, someone calls his name. She is Sinka, who came through her portal, asking him to come with her as it is still not late, with her hand over her pretty jugs, showing how sincerely she wants him to join them. But our boy is not that pleased to look at her existence at this emotional time, and furiously turns on his ability again, warning her to fuck off from here. Sinka is really hurt, and she tells him that she really doesn't understand why he is not giving up, and keeps rejecting her. All of a sudden, thunder falls on Gangu, making his ability disappear and confiscating him for a moment. This is the ability of a Swede, a B3 criminal, who has activated his magic because he believes that the negotiations have broken down, and he tells them to kill our hero before his energy revives even a little, because they know they will not be able to take him head on if this happens. After that, he looks back at other criminals of his team and asks them if there are any objections regarding this, but all of them agree to kill him unanimously. But in the end, these Loki criminals still have a bit of emotion in them, as the old fellow, Friatua, is feeling sad for such tragic ending for this young man. Pekanu, on the other hand, has mixed emotions, because she is afraid of killing people altogether. But in this case, she believes that killing him is better than leaving him alive. Meanwhile, Natura, being a nature lover, says that it is not too bad to become one with nature. That's when the island girl, Maldity, asks them to finish it off fast so she can go eat because she is really hungry. The muscular guy, Stiffness, is hoping that this guy will definitely entertain him, while Vidi is saddened at such an end of a story for Gangu. Ho, the kitty girl can be seen teasing Hyun, while complimenting Gangu that he is scarier than a demon, and Hyun is making fun of her for being scared. Suddenly, someone shouts from behind to get out of his way. This is Hyro, the alien, who has just gotten about 1,000,000 times bigger, and smashes his huge fist punch right at Gangu, who seems to be protecting the remains of his dead brother by keeping it close to his heart. This attack from Hyro begins the series of attacks from other B3 and B4 level criminals too, while Gangu is thinking how much time has passed since his brother has been gone. He is lying on the ground, keeping the flesh ball close to his heart, and wrapping it with his ability to make sure nothing happens to it. After they all are done with landing their attacks, the giant alien then tells them that it is time to end this, as he steps forward to pin his gigantic foot on Gangu. As soon as his foot reaches within a few meters of our hero's body, a strong tornado appears, and the blue energy wraps the foot of Hyro and stops it from attacking Gangu. Out of nowhere, Huang has come into senses and arrives at the scene at the right time to talk with Sinka. He asks her if she remembers how she told him that when he will become an adult, he will become even stronger, as he tells her that for the first time in his life he finally has a dream, an aim that he wants to follow, while she is listening to him carefully. The dream of Huang is to defeat Seo Gangyu, when he will become stronger, and he starts laughing again, while Sinka's jaw has dropped on hearing it. He requests her not to kill Gangyu at the moment, because he wants to be the one who is going to do it at the right time. However, a Swede calls this talk as bullshit because he believes that they have to kill him right now, in this state. At the same time, Sinka realizes the little kid's point because she definitely trapped him using this, so she asks everyone to head back. All of them are shocked over this call, but she reminds them that all of them promised to listen to her and obey her orders, although none of them are pleased to hear about this promise. Anyways, they don't have an option too because they have their desires too that they want to attain, so they all agree to head back. And Sinka opens a portal for everyone to return to their places. She is acting like a mother to Huang, and asks him if he needs her support. However, he tells her that it is alright so he can manage it on his own. As he is about to leave, he looks at Gangyu with a side eye, who is unconsciously lying on the ground, and thinks in his head that when they next meet, he is going to be the winner. On the other hand, during the EMP attack on Reculus Prison, a lot of criminals escaped, including 8B3 criminals, 5B4 criminals, and 3B5 criminals, which is quite a number considering their capabilities. Meanwhile, someone is standing on the edge of the crater, wearing the same outfit as Huang, while laughing at what he just witnessed, as he says that the world is about to become much noisier. Just as Kingston thought, that in the near future, Sinka is going to turn the world upside down. Our next chapter begins with a pink starfish wearing a diaper, speaking in a gibberish language. Somehow, the ponytailed girl understands what this star-shaped cutie is saying, as she responds by stating she's not ready for it. However, the next revelation leaves her shocked. A broadcast is airing about the dawn of a new world, called the Alpha World, which opens its arms only to the strong. Sinka leads the broadcast with her two minions, introducing herself as the Eve of this new world. It becomes clear that she's been seeking her Adam. Sinka introduces her minions, calling them her guests and naming them individually. The large, muscular man is Canis, and the cat-eyed individual is Gato, both of whom played key roles in the Recluse prison incident. The broadcast, which could also be considered a podcast, then turns into a Q&A session about the Alpha World. Canis answers the first question, explaining that the Alpha World is being created to save humanity, which has fallen ill, with Sinka as its Eve. Next, Gato explains the criteria for joining the Alpha World. First, individuals must possess strong abilities, both physical and special. Second, they must not defend those with inferior genes, who will not be selected. The third and final condition is that, regardless of gender, one must be healthy and capable of producing strong offspring. The next question concerns the fate of those who do not meet the qualifications for the Alpha World. Sinka steps in to answer this herself, explaining that people with inferior genes are committing a crime by remaining part of humanity, and therefore deserve to die. To emphasize her point, she asks rhetorically, if they are committing a crime deserving death, what is the right course of action? She concludes that these individuals must be executed without hesitation. Sinka then begins to chant that everyone with inferior genes who isn't selected will be executed. This is the final decree. In the coming months, the selection committee will choose the neo-humans who will become part of the Alpha World, and special invitations will be sent to them. Those who reject the invitation will be considered enemies of the Alpha World, as will anyone who defends individuals with unselected genes. Sinka ends the broadcast by winking at the audience, urging them to take the invitation seriously. She closes by praying for the glory of the neo-humans and reminding everyone that she, Eve, is their new future. The pink starfish is still telling the woman some story, and now even the girl has started speaking in that odd language, Nyom, or whatever it's called. I guess I need to learn it too for secret conversations. The scene shifts to a large meeting room where several individuals are gathered to discuss pressing matters, particularly the Recluse prison escape and the subsequent global broadcast, an embarrassment for the prestigious organizations involved. Mr. Bezet, the world president, calls for an emergency meeting of the World Security Council to address the issue with the nation's executives and stakeholders. Sinka's profile is displayed on the screen, highlighting her attributes as the leader of this new organization. The leaders debate whether she was the one responsible for the EMP attack. One of them asks if she's on their list of villains, but another mentions that the Hero Association has denied her presence on their list. This frustrates the man with glasses, who sees it as a major headache, especially given that the heroes of equality died not long ago. Finally, a sharp woman raises the key question, asking everyone how they plan to handle this situation. Meanwhile, Mr. Einheit, leader of the Harmony Party, slams the table in frustration, insisting that certain things need to be clarified before diving further into the discussion. He seems rather thick-headed, as his main concern is that Jo Si-eun, the warden of Recluse prison, executed criminals on her own authority without reporting to higher-ups. He questions how one person could give another the right to carry out executions without oversight, leading to chaos and confusion. This irrelevant tangent irritates one of the other representatives, who sarcastically notes that he's still spouting nonsense despite the gravity of the situation. Mr. Udariti, a former chairman of the Hero Association and current leader of the World Party, dismisses Einheit's concerns. He defends Warden Jo, stating that she made the best decision given the circumstances and that he would have done the same. Unwilling to back down, the Harmony Party leader argues that no matter the urgency, Jo should have had time to report her actions. However, a heavyset man disagrees, saying that in such situations, not even a minute can be wasted. That's likely why she sought out Seo Gangyu instead, which he fully understands. Mr. Udariti then turns to Algido, the Justice Minister, for his opinion. Ito acknowledges that it was a tough decision given the unique situation but maintains that it's still wrong for an individual to have the power to execute others as they see fit. His diplomatic response is typical of a minister. The Fire Commissioner chimes in, expressing concern about the suffering the public will endure in the aftermath. Mrs. Crumb, the Police Commissioner, adds that the damage has already been significant, with public safety deteriorating rapidly ever since the broadcast. The beast-like man with a cigar, who happens to be the Vice Minister of National Defense, questions the group, asking whether they should consider themselves at war or if this is still just a prison escape incident. Frustration builds as the former chairman of the Hero Association slams his fist on the table, venting his anger. He insists he had already warned them that the criminals needed to be executed, and their current situation is the result of delaying those executions. He continues to lash out, boasting that if he were still in charge, these criminals would have been dealt with long before execution even became necessary. He can't believe they brought danger upon themselves by not eliminating the captured, wanted criminals when they had the chance. Next, he turns his fury on Rayasa, the current chairman of the Hero Association, accusing her of letting the world fall into chaos ever since she took over. Mr. Boda shoots back, saying the former chairman hasn't changed one bit. Einheit also mocks him, pointing out that the moves he made during his tenure as chairman were flawed, asking him to consider the state of the heroes from that time. Einheit adds that all the heroes the former chairman led were mentally unstable, but the World Party leader defends his actions, arguing it was better to keep them as heroes rather than let them turn into villains. The bearded man, however, counters by asking if merely appearing as a hero on the outside is all that truly matters. The meeting heats up as the participants begin tearing into each other. It's clear the former chairman holds a grudge against Rayasa as he drags her into the conversation again, claiming that under her leadership, people who could have become heroes instead turned to villainy, causing chaos everywhere. The man with glasses, who appears more level-headed, tries to explain that Udariti's definition of a hero is vastly different from theirs. This remark infuriates the stout leader, who accuses them of being so obsessed with their idealized vision of the world that they fail to see the reality in front of them. The world president, silently observing the chaos, looks at Rayasa's empty seat, wondering what she would have said in response to these accusations had she been present. The former chairman, sensing that he would have been outmatched if Rayasa were here, falls silent. After the meeting, the assistant of the stout leader asks how it went. He responds bitterly that it didn't go well at all, claiming there's nothing left to discuss, they simply need to kill the criminals and be done with it. He blames Rayasa for everything, saying that ever since she became chairman of the Hero Association, many members of the WSC, including the Harmony Party, Fire Commissioner, and Vice Minister of National Defense, have sided with her. In contrast, only he and the police commissioner favored harsher measures, leaving them outnumbered 4-2. The justice minister remained neutral. He tells his assistant that their opinions have been consistently ignored, and even the world president tends to lean toward Rayasa's side, further weakening their position on the council. However, he now sees an opportunity. With the Hero Association's chairmanship vacant, all they need is to appoint one of their own to tip the scales in their favor. If it becomes a 3-3 split, he believes their stance will finally be taken seriously. That's why they plan to meet Seo Gangyu, a former hero of equality. He is confident that other influential figures have already started making their moves, subtly referencing the bunny girl. His assistant, aware of the situation, asks if Seo Gangyu was close to the former blonde chairman. He confirms, saying they were indeed very close. However, he's now optimistic given how much the situation has changed, believing they have a chance to lure Seo Gangyu in as they head to meet him. Meanwhile, our hero is undergoing surgery after a tough fight with that maniacal kid. The healers are working hard to restore his strength, as he looks completely drained. Moving on, the next chapter begins with a conversation about a critical question of why the heroes can't kill the villains. The muscular monk laughs heartily, telling his friend that he had the same thought when he first joined Equality. He assures him that he'll find the answer eventually, as his journey with equality continues. Gangyu, sporting his ponytail, grows frustrated at these remarks and questions the monk, asking if he really expects him to kill people with his own hands, even though he doesn't want to. He goes on to say that if heroes are required to kill, then he'll quit being a hero. How things have changed in just a few nights. The purple-haired woman chimes in, revealing that her sister is on death row in prison. While it's true her sister committed a crime deserving of death, she believes her sibling should be given a chance to atone for her sins. After all, blood is still blood. Mago is also present and repeats the key question, asking what happens if they reverse the statement, why must heroes kill villains? After posing this, the old man finds himself confused, offering several possible explanations. Maybe villains should be killed because they have no value alive, or because they've forsaken their humanity. He then spirals into deeper questions. Which humans have value? And what does it even mean to be human? Now stuck in a mental puzzle, he asks for everyone's help to solve it. Rayasa steps in, stating that the job of a hero is not to kill villains but to save everyone. She extends her hand to Mago, inviting him to join them in their mission to save others, adding that she's sure Seo would love this idea. However, they all leave without answering the original question, leaving our hero alone, stuck in this moral dilemma. It seems he's trapped in a nightmare as he flashes back to a conversation with his prison partner. The woman tells him that an inspector's job is to rehabilitate criminals. Although she's not opposed to the death penalty, as a prison inspector, it's her duty to tell the criminals what they've done wrong before they are executed. But our hero believes that the law is what judges people, and prison inspectors simply carry out that judgment. He's about to explain his point further when the dream suddenly distorts, and his sentence remains unfinished. In the next scene, he finds himself back in the pit where he fought Wong, with a massive image of his enemy taunting him. The condensed meatball-like figure mocks him, pointing out how everyone still spouts the same frustrating nonsense even after all that's happened. The nightmare ends abruptly as our hero wakes up, gasping for air and drenched in sweat. Lippus, sitting by his bed, greets him, relieved that he's finally awake. She asks if he's okay, and our hero is surprised to find himself in a hospital bed. The girl with the hairband apologizes for not coming to his aid earlier, even though she knew something had happened at the prison. She explains that the prison warden has concealed the details of the riot, but the MC wipes the sweat from his face and reassures her that it's fine. She wouldn't have been able to help even if she had gone, considering the monstrous enemies present. Her concern grows, and she asks if he's truly okay, as she heard he was tasked with executing the criminals. He admits that he's not doing fine, confessing that he should have killed all the criminals before they escaped. But he couldn't. Lippus is stunned, unable to believe that this side of Gangyu exists. She then asks if she should also tell him not to kill villains, but quickly adds that if that's her intention, she can save her breath. He's no longer a hero. Now, as a prison inspector, that's his duty. After a pause, the bunny-eared Lippus informs him that they must form a new hero association and select heroes for a new equality. She reveals that she's temporarily taking up the position of Hero Association chairman, but with the impending changes, they need a hero to lead them. They're considering him, a former hero of equality, as the permanent chairman of the Hero Association. However, he firmly declines, stating that he's no longer a hero, and the heroes should take care of their own. He then declares that once he recovers, he intends to carry out his duties, further disappointing Lippus. At that moment, someone barges into the room, validating the young man's words. It's Yutariti, who is here to make his move, visibly pleased to hear that Seo Gangyu is now a prison inspector. His sudden arrival surprises both of them. The old man commends Gangyu, noting that he went through a lot to execute the criminals by himself, but that's all in the past now. Yutariti assures him that he won't have to go through that again. He then reveals his plan. He's going to become the Hero Association's chairman and intends to involve the heroes in executing criminals, which shocks the young woman, who can't believe what she's hearing. Gangyu, confused, reminds him that he's the leader of the World Party. Yutariti responds that he'll be stepping down from that position soon so he can run for the seat of chairman. He then mentions that he originally came to see if Gangyu was interested in the position, but now that he knows Gangyu's intentions, he considers this visit just a friendly greeting. With that, the hefty leader takes his leave, wishing Gangyu a speedy recovery and warning the rabbit-headed Lippus to prepare for what's coming. Lippus lashes out, asserting that no one in the council would ever elect him. Yutariti, with a sneaky grin, tells her to wait and see what happens. Turning to Gangyu, Lippus tries to persuade him, especially after Yutariti's involvement. But Gangyu, exhausted, shuts her down, telling her he's tired and needs rest, asking her to leave. Lippus, shocked at how heartless her friend has become, reluctantly complies. Meanwhile, Yutariti rants in his car, convinced that everyone, like him and Lippus, will soon try to reach out to Seo Gangyu. With the rise of abilities, organizations like the army and police have become overly reliant on singularly powerful individuals. He believes the World Security Council will soon debate whether Gangyu's executions were justified and whether he should be granted the legal right to perform such actions. His assistant, curious, asks what his plan is. We'll find out at the council meeting, where the debate is in full swing. The bearded man is fired up, arguing that they should punish the warden of Rakulu's prison if the law demands it. The police commissioner disagrees, noting that this was a special situation, and even if her own subordinate had acted similarly, she would have overlooked it. The debate grows heated when Yutariti jumps in, criticizing Mr. Einheit for offering no real solutions and simply idealizing the situation. Offended, the Harmony Party leader insists that he's already provided a solution, one that most agree with, except for the police commissioner. Einheit explains that they will subject the task of joining forces and capturing the criminals to the judgment of law. Yudariti dismisses this as nonsense, taunting that it sounds like Einite's head is in the clouds. Growing weary of the debate, the world president finally steps in, asking Yudariti for his solution. This is the opportunity Yudariti has been waiting for. Calmly, he proposes a nationwide vote on whether Seo Gangyu should be given the legal right to execute criminals. The proposition takes everyone by surprise, especially the president. Yudariti explains that the nation should simply decide if they support or oppose granting this power to Gangyu. The next scene opens with the World Security Council continuing its debate over Yudariti's proposal. He mockingly asks if they all work for the citizens, implying that such a vote shouldn't be a problem. The Harmony Party leader, however, warns that it would be dangerous to leave such a critical decision in the hands of the masses. Yudariti furiously stands up, accusing him of looking down on the citizens, further taunting him by suggesting that he's only opposing the vote because he knows he'll lose. Turning to the president, Yudariti asks for his opinion. After a moment of consideration, the president agrees to move forward with the vote. The voting takes place, and exactly 2 weeks later, the results are in. A blue-haired woman reads them aloud, announcing that 88% of the population voted in favor of the proposal, while only 12% opposed it. It's a landslide victory for those in favor. This news lifts the spirits of the former chairman, who sees this outcome as only natural. The secretary shares the reasoning behind the majority's decision, explaining that many view this incident as a declaration of war, believing that their enemies must be eliminated. They see the enemies as beasts who have forsaken their humanity, making the application of human laws irrelevant. Furthermore, they argue that the pursuit of idealistic solutions caused the problem in the first place. They suggest that, in addition to Seo Gangyu, other heroes should also be granted the authority to execute criminals. Hearing this, Yudariti is delighted, like a child given a lollipop. However, the secretary also presents the opposition's argument. They believe that the prison inspector is too emotional right now, which could compromise his decision-making. Granting him the authority to execute could lead to the same issues that occurred with the previous heroes. When an individual's judgment is elevated above the law, they argue, society risks falling apart. This perspective aligns closely with those in favor of correction. Upon hearing the results, Mr. Einite pledges to accommodate both sides, aiming to satisfy everyone. This infuriates Yudariti, who dismisses the notion as nonsense. Why bother satisfying everyone when the results are so clear? He grumbles. Mr. Bezet, the world president, steps in, ordering everyone to calm down and summon Seo Gangyu. The scene shifts to the president's office, where he is meeting with Seo Gangyu one-on-one. He asks if Gangyu has heard the voting results. Gangyu confirms that he has. The president gets straight to the point, asking what Gangyu intends to do. Without hesitation, Gangyu states that he plans to follow the results of the vote and personally execute all of the criminals. The president then asks what Gangyu would have done if the vote had gone the other way. With a serious expression, Gangyu replies that he would still have killed them all, then surrendered himself afterward. This response tells the president all he needs to know about Gangyu's current state of mind. He realizes that nothing can change his course. However, the president presses further, asking a critical question that hits a nerve. If Rayasa were here, what do you think she would have done? Gangyu pauses, clearly unsettled, before answering that he would need to ask Rayasa herself for that answer. As Gangyu begins to leave, the president asks one final question. Will you return as a hero once all of this is over? Gangyu, on the other hand, avoids the question and simply replies that he doesn't know. The next day, a special law is passed granting Seo Gangyu the authority to execute criminals. It makes headlines, with President Bezet holding a press conference to announce that Officer Gangyu has been given the authority to execute the criminals from the Rakulu's prison incident as well as any future terrorists. The former chairman is overjoyed, feeling that everything is going according to plan. He believes that soon enough, things will return to the way they were during his era, allowing him to regain his former power. However, not everyone is happy with how things are unfolding. Those close to Seo Gangyu, like Lippis and his one-sided lover from Rakulu's prison, are deeply distressed. His colleague even breaks down in tears, fearing that Gangyu is on the path to becoming a monster. Meanwhile, Sinka and her group are observing the situation closely, deciding it's time for them to prepare. The Eve of the potential Alpha world, looking like a waifu in her stunning new outfit, reveals her own plan. She has assembled a team of executioners, poised to wreak havoc on the world. Not long after, news breaks of a mysterious blue circle appearing in Spain and Portugal, accompanied by a letter declaring it as an invitation to a new world. One day, a dark portal, Sinka's special power, appears in the sky, and a massive blast erupts from the magic circle formed within it, annihilating everything beneath. This devastating attack is the work of the green-haired Swede, who has grown even stronger than before. His fellow executioners are visibly impressed by the sheer intensity of his power. Morse, however, yells at a Swede for using such a high-level attack, reminding him that someone who has accepted the invitation might be present in the area. The Swede coldly responds that if anyone dies from this level of attack, they don't deserve to join their ranks anyway. Meanwhile, a live broadcast is playing in every city center across the world. Sinka appears, greeting everyone and warning that the executions of those with unselected genes will begin. Executioners are landing in different countries simultaneously, ready to carry out their grim task. Only one person stands between them and their mission, Seo Gangyu, our protagonist, who has resolved to take on all the executioners himself. The new scene of this story opens with an ongoing WSC meeting, where all state executives are listening to the blue-haired assistant's update on the incident based on materials sent by the Hero Association. The first culprit introduced is a Swede, a summoning-type villain captured by the equality hero Mago. He can engrave stolen summoning abilities as tattoos on his body, essentially copying his opponent's powers. A Swede is currently wreaking havoc but remains unsatisfied with his level of power, lamenting that he missed the chance to steal Mago's offensive ability. The second villain is Ho, a physical type captured by the equality hero Jaiyu. She can transform her body into that of a fox demon, resembling a cute version of Naruto's Nine Tails. Ho has a strange desire to find someone who can tame her, as she typically behaves quite wildly. Next on the report is Hyen Jueung, a special-type villain captured by another equality hero, Hub. He is extremely dangerous, capable of summoning powerful demons by chanting mantras. Following him is Mors, a cute yet dangerous special-type villain captured by Tommy. Despite her innocent appearance, she is ruthless, eliminating those she deems unworthy. Mors shares Eve's belief that the Unchosen are inferior from birth, using her abilities to eradicate these so-called lowly beings. The assistant further mentions that the Hero Association has swiftly mobilized heroes near Portugal to address the incident. However, a rotund official doubts their effectiveness, believing the heroes won't resort to killing. Mr. Bezet then orders that firefighters prioritize rescuing civilians, while the army and police protect them. The army and firefighters representatives agree, but Mr. Crumb disagrees, arguing they lack the power to stop the villains and will need to request hero assistance again. Upon hearing this, the president turns to the elderly minister to inquire about Seo Gangyu's whereabouts. The minister replies that, according to Warden Joe, Seo Gangyu has already set out after hearing the broadcast. Clearly, Seo Gangyu won't waste a second or wait for bureaucratic delays. Mr. Einheit, still stuck in the 23rd chapter, questions why they haven't fired that warden yet. Mr. Bezet ignores the Harmony Party leader's question and instead asks his cabinet if there's any way to determine what their enemies are after. The girl with glasses informs him that they have no clue about the villain's true intentions or the purpose of this onslaught. It's puzzling what they missed from Sinka's detailed broadcast, where she clearly stated their objective, to execute everyone with unchosen genes and assist those who accepted the invitation to join the Alpha world. She explained to her team that they would start small, intending to give the world a taste of their presence. After that, things would get easier as more of those who received the invitation would join. Sinka further instructed them to focus on bringing people into their world rather than on executions. She wants to gather a significant number first, believing they can eliminate those with lowly genes whenever they choose. This thought brings a wicked smile to her face. A Swede, Ho, and Juong are still rampaging, even though everyone within their range has already been fried. Mors stops them, noting they've warmed up enough and should proceed with the missions assigned by Eve. The two agree, but the fox girl is still eager to cause more destruction. However, the green-haired one isn't planning to take orders, making it clear that he'll do as he pleases. He believes that by continuing to destroy this place, those who receive the invitations will eventually surface. Mors yells at him, accusing him of acting out of line and questioning whether he's going to ignore Eve's orders. He remains unfazed, retorting with a challenge, asking what she'll do if he does ignore them. Meanwhile, the special-type villain summons a three-legged demon crow and hops onto it, telling his colleagues that a Swede won't listen regardless, so they should just fulfill their mission. Mors grits her teeth in anger, while Ho shows interest in riding the demonic crow. She warns him that once they're done here, she's going to report everything to Eve, so he should be prepared. However, this doesn't faze the ability stealer, who tells her to do whatever she wants. After they leave, he sighs coldly, annoyed that nothing has changed since he left prison. Testing his firepower by creating a magic circle, he's disappointed to find that his abilities remain stagnant, no matter how much he destroys. He isn't satisfied with his powers, deeming them a cursed talent, and feels compelled to keep stealing. Just then, a huge bunny appears in the sky and lands right where he stands. He blocks the bunny with his magic shield, immediately recognizing the person behind it. Lupus, clearly disappointed, confronts him, expressing frustration that he hasn't changed at all since leaving prison. She questions whether he learned anything during his time there. Unperturbed, he mockingly asks if she gave a proper burial to her dear friend Mago, deliberately pressing on a sore spot. At the Lisbon Ability Academy, students are anxiously attending a lecture, frightened by the loud explosions and billowing smoke from nearby fires. Their teacher, Prof, is trying to reassure them, telling them not to worry and that he will protect them no matter what happens. He urges them to follow him to the shelter for safety. Prof, known for his dedication and care for his students, is truly a remarkable teacher. Suddenly, a clap resounds from the back of the classroom. The danger has arrived in the form of Moors, who is perched on top of a bench. She claps in appreciation, complimenting Prof on being an amazing teacher, which only terrifies the students further. As they realize she's an evil being, panic ensues, and they rush to their teacher for protection. This chaos annoys Moors, who remarks on their noise and lack of refinement. The students huddle behind Prof, who takes a defensive stance and addresses Moors by her first name. This surprises Moors, who is both intrigued and embarrassed that he knows her. She jumps down from the bench, unfurls her umbrella radiating orange mana, and warns him not to scan her. She mentions knowing he also received Eve's invitation and that those who have should follow her. Prof interrupts, asking her to leave. Prof then releases his own mana, declaring he will not let her harm his students. Moors dismisses his decision as foolish and is further irritated by his interruption. She unleashes her dark mana, enraged by what she perceives as disrespect and plans to teach him a lesson. The chapter ends with a grim outlook as the organization remains relentless. The next chapter introduces the Ability Academy, established after the meal and mail incident. Founded by Rayasa and Mago, the Academy was created to educate children with abilities, helping them integrate into society and control their powers, a crucial need following the chaos caused by the two siblings. Moors activates her special ability, Etiquette, by tossing her hat into the air. A blinding red light fills the room, shocking everyone and likely causing the children to tremble in fear. She silences their frightened noises by sealing their mouths with a spell, rendering their attempts to speak futile. Moors, now calm, revels in the quiet, demonstrating her complex special ability that targets those she deems inferior. This ability can impose restrictions or cause harm at her discretion. She warns the students not to try anything foolish, threatening to kill them if they do. Behind her, large, reptilian eyes loom, giving her a monstrous appearance. She then asks the three children who received invitations to step forward. Two girls and a boy emerge, walking through the menacing gaze of the eyes. The double ponytail girl reviews a paper in her hand, noting that all the students are special types, which have many uses. She informs them that 3 of them will be assisting the queen in creating the new world. She then removes the seals from their mouths, demanding an answer from them. Once they can speak, the boy asks if she is referring to the person who appeared on TV, to which she confirms that the queen is indeed that person. Moors boasts about the queen, describing her as an absolute beauty with a perfect vision. However, she is interrupted by the boy, who clearly states his refusal to join them. This refusal alarms both Moors and the reptilian eyes surrounding her. The boy explains that Moors said she wanted to kill everyone without abilities, and he knows many such children who are innocent. He is unwilling to harm them. The little cat girl agrees with him, stating that her parents have no abilities and haven't done anything wrong, so they don't deserve to die for this evil scheme. The red-faced student shares this sentiment as well. One of the girls tells Moors that their teacher taught them it is wrong to discriminate and hate others for being different. Additionally, he taught them that using abilities to enforce one's will is evil, so she, too, is a bad person and should leave. Moors asks them again if they are certain they do not want to join, and they firmly respond that they will not. Enraged, she commands them to die, and a stop sign appears on the ground beneath them. A golden butterfly-shaped mark appears on their necks, but the attack is nullified by Prof, whose mana flows around the room. The effort takes a toll on him, causing blood to seep from his mouth. Known as Bodyguard, Prof's ability absorbs the impact of attacks from special type users, a remarkable defensive power. Moors is impressed by this ability and realizes why Sinka decided to send him an invitation. Recognizing the value of such a talent, she decides to spare him, as killing him would be a waste. Prof informs Moors that they know all about her, especially her past. She interrupts him, stating that discussing a lady's past is impolite and speculates that Tommy must have revealed it. She clarifies that she is here on the Queen's behalf to select individuals for the Alpha World and politely requests that he hand over the children to spare his own life. Prof, now furious, refuses to comply and vows to protect the children even at the cost of his own life. This surprises Moors, who questions if his own child is among them. He responds that he has no such child, which shocks her further. His heartfelt response brings tears to the eyes of many. He is their teacher. Back at headquarters, a briefing reveals Prof's past. As a member of the Hero Association, Prof is a teacher at the Ability Academy. Despite his strong defensive powers capable of withstanding attacks from B3 or B4 level criminals, he was always ranked as a 5th-tier hero because the chairman of the Hero Association, Yudariti, did not want any non-destructive heroes on the front lines. However, when Rayasa became the new chairman, she invited Prof to become a teacher at the academy. Initially, Prof wondered if he was being demoted from his hero status, but Rayasa reassured him that he would remain both a teacher and a hero. Moors realizes that she cannot use force to persuade Prof, so she decides to leverage his position as the student's teacher to convince them. Meanwhile, Prof reflects on the changing world where abilities and wars have led to societal collapse. He emphasizes that heroes have made many sacrifices to stabilize society. Moors, confused by this speech, asks how it relates to her offer. Prof explains that he is concerned about the delusional plans of the crazy woman, which could plunge society back into chaos. Mors is offended by his comments about the queen and warns him not to insult her. She accuses him of avoiding a direct refusal, but asserts that she does not care if society collapses again. Prof insists that she should care, as a societal collapse would result in more suffering for children like those in the academy. This enrages Mors, causing her to question what he knows about her, but Prof remains unfazed, stating they know everything about her. In response, Mors summons her fiery mana and opens her umbrella, which releases hundreds of spikes that pin everyone to the ground. She accuses Prof of speaking nonsense and warns him that her patience is wearing thin. The students, in pain from the spikes, cry out for help. Prof tries to mitigate the damage to the students but is unable to stop Mors, who declares that they will all die. Just as she finishes her threat, a boot slams onto her head, forcing her skull into the ground. Seo Gangu arrives, heroically intervening to save the academy's students. His powerful entry shatters the classroom floor and overpowers Mors' evil mana with his red threads of energy. Gangu addresses Mors as a B3 criminal and demands she call the queen, the so-called Eve of the Alpha world. The scene ends with Gangu's resolve to not spare any of the criminals, starting with their queen if she appears. And right after, the next begins with Mors struggling beneath Gangu's immense pressure. She questions who he is calling a crazy bitch and confirms if those words were meant for her queen. Gangu mockingly confirms that he includes her in that insult. Enraged, Mors calls Gangu an impudent bastard, but she is powerless against him. She launches her first attack by creating a stop sign magic on the ground, which shackles Gangu with chains, cuffs, and a choker. She constructs a guillotine to punish him, but Gangu swiftly destroys the entire structure with his mana straps. After breaking free from his restraints, Seo Gangu delivers a powerful punch to Mors, obliterating her facial structure with the force. He instructs Prof to evacuate the children, but the teacher is unable to move due to the lingering effects of Mors' ability. Gangu delivers another punch, this time to Mors' gut, causing her to cough up blood. This action dispels the ability affecting the students, allowing them to escape. As the students flee under Prof's guidance, Gangu turns his attention back to Mors, demanding she call out the queen. Mors, in excruciating pain, transforms into a new form known as Lady Mode, her appearance changing dramatically with untied hair and eerie eyes. Two hat-wearing magicians, known for their lady dialogue, assist Mors, and she activates a protective spell called Lady Zone with her umbrella. In this mode, anyone who recognizes Mors as a lady gains her special ability, which preys on the weak. However, Gangu, being far from weak, negates her ability effortlessly, as he has previously torn through similar powers. Mors had anticipated this, using her transformation to buy time for her comrades to complete their missions and return to Sinka. She accepts her fate, understanding that her death is imminent. Gangu approaches her as she hides under her umbrella, questioning her intent to call the queen. Mors laughs, unable to grasp why Gangu refuses to join the queen, and expresses her disbelief that he would reject such an opportunity. Desperate, she offers to reveal the queen's location and other information if Gangu delays his attack. Gangu dismisses her offer, stating calmly that he will obtain all necessary information by bringing her corpse to a psychometric ability user, who can extract the details from her remains. This brutal response shocks Mors, who realizes that Gangu's resolve is unyielding and his determination to uncover the truth is absolute. Mors comes to a harsh realization of her situation as Gangu's relentless pursuit and his overwhelming power force her to confront the reality of her impending death. She contemplates suicide, hoping to leave no trace behind, but her plan is thwarted by Gangu's lightning-fast assault. Just as Gangu is about to break through Mors' defense, the queen, Sinka, intervenes using her spatial abilities. She reaches out to grab Mors and engages in a conversation with Gangu, expressing her obsession and desire for him. Despite the dangerous situation, Sinka's excitement about Gangu's displayed power and her nonchalant attitude towards his threats highlight her twisted nature. Gangu, covered in a powerful red aura, is determined to use all his strength to defeat Sinka and rescue the children. Sinka, seemingly unfazed by his anger and threats, revels in his intense focus and obsession, interpreting it as a form of love, albeit a destructive one. We continue the story with Mors and Sinka facing the most powerful hero, Seo Gangu, who is currently in his formidable form 0, ready to utterly destroy these two softies. Sinka takes over the situation from Mors, ordering her to deal with the others who had refused their invitation. Quite a bold move indeed from the leader of this evil organization. Mors obeys her command without question and departs from the scene. Meanwhile, our hero effortlessly shatters the lady's defensive shield. At this critical moment, Sinka realizes she's in trouble, but considering her cunning personality, she must have something up her sleeves. Mors escapes through her queen's portal and unexpectedly arrives at the student's location. She is severely injured and coughing up blood. The coughing of the umbrella girl alerts the students and their teacher, but Prof notices she is quite weak from the beating she received, so he orders his students to run quickly. Mors tries to say something, but she can't complete her sentence due to the precarious situation. Suddenly, one of the students halts, noting that this person is the one from their textbook. What a nerd she must be to recognize someone from the book in such a deadly situation. On the other hand, the purple-eyed girl's jaw drops after witnessing Gangyu's level at such close range. The red stripes of our hero have covered every inch of the surrounding area, making Sinka worry that he has already used overkill at the beginning of their fight. Gangyu warns her with a stoic expression that this place will be her grave. However, the girl remains unfazed and unworried, calmly stating that he must be in mode 0 to use this technique. She chatters like a bird, exclaiming that he is pushing himself too hard. But he is in no mood for a lecture, so he attacks her immediately. In the next moment, the red blade pierces through his own body, as she had used a teleportation technique to dodge the attack, which ultimately resulted in Gangyu stabbing himself with his own ability. But it was futile, considering his ability doesn't work on himself. The red threads heal his body immediately, and he stands unscathed with a deadly serious face. At this moment, she summons her special assistants, Canis and Gato, who emerge from the ground like shadows rising from the ashes. They are wearing leashes this time. I wonder what kind of BDSM relationship they have. The duo instantly become worried upon finding themselves in the overkill, inquiring of Miss Sinka about their situation. Canis thinks they shouldn't have emerged, which makes their boss laugh, and she asks if this situation is too difficult for them to deal with. Canis advises her that they should focus on buying time instead of killing him, as he is using his ultimate technique from the very beginning, so they have no chance to withstand it. She believes that it's impossible for them to escape from this. After processing the whole situation, Sinka decides that they should run away from here, but I don't think our boy is going to allow that. It's not every day that Gangyu gets the opportunity to fry a sexy chicken with a side course too. She tries to open up her portal, but her ability doesn't work, and the portal fails to open. A twist in the tale. This completely baffles the evil trio, and they are as shocked as anyone. It looks like our hero has a secret move of his own to battle Sinka this time. Although it wasn't planned, as she got herself involved in this. One can't give credit to our boy for coming up with this plan. He's bursting with mana, reminding her that he told her earlier that this place would be her grave. This is not overkill, rather, it is a dark heaven prison. It looks like the protagonist used his time to level up too. A new space is created through Gangyu's special ability, and once someone enters this place, they cannot leave it. Before, Sinka was outside when Seo Gangyu fought Huang Sunhyun, so she could use her ability in that case to extract the little boy from the inside. However, this time it's different, and now she is inside Gangyu's space, so she can no longer get out. This is the first time we've ever seen this cutie being so depressed. She is wondering what kind of ridiculous ability this is. Anyway, it's time for some action, as Gangyu prepares to unleash his mana-embodied fist at her. She uses her shield again to protect herself, but it gets shattered immediately before the punch even touches it. Gato is shitting his pants right now, worrying about her queen. Sinka's pets request her to release their leashes, but their master informs them that she promised Sunhyun that he will be the one to kill Gangyu after he becomes an adult. However, Gato believes that they can't get out of this place alive unless they kill him. This makes her realize that they need to kill Gangyu, breaking her promise to Sunhyun, as she believes that he will understand her position. Time will tell if that little maniac is going to spare her or not. The moment they go to remove the leashes, something weird starts to happen. Her pets start to growl loudly, looking up at the top of the dark heaven prison. Sinka notices the presence of something as well, and now all of them are looking at the roof of this space. Even Gangyu is looking up, clueless about the weird phenomenon happening. Suddenly, a voice is heard from the side, stating the meaning of unrivaled in the world. Everyone is shocked to see the presence of some mysterious figure in this space. The person is saying that no one in the world can rival me. Whether there are tens, hundreds, or thousands of enemies, none can threaten me. The moment someone makes me their enemy, it would be the same as making the world their enemy, so no one will even think of making me their enemy. That is what it means to be unrivaled in the world. This is the same old man who was present during the fight between Gangyu and Sunhyun. He is talking to Gangyu, asking him if he wants to become unrivaled in the world, but our boy is still trying to figure out about the mysterious person in the space. He tells the protagonist that while he is strong, he is not yet unrivaled in the world, but that he can make it a reality for him. Sinka grows increasingly frustrated hearing that old geezer blabbering nonsense. She yells loudly at Gangyu, demanding to know where this old man came from and what he is doing here. All the departments are in agreement that they know what he will do, and there is no chance he will be hostile toward Officer Seo. These seasoned stakeholders seem to know a lot about this mysterious figure, as if they have worked with him in the past. They are more worried about someone else, who might act rashly and unpredictably in this situation. Without any doubt, the fire department representative is hinting toward Uteridi, who is currently not present at this meeting, and they fear he might already be on his way to deal with this situation. In the meantime, Mors is still trailing the kids and the professor who declined the invitation to the new world. She laughs hysterically upon discovering that she is featured in a textbook, wondering why in the world some random textbook would have information about her. She finds it utterly ridiculous and is quite upset at this revelation. Prof tells her that it's not just about her. All the prisoners in Reculus prison have been documented in it. This innocent ex-hero believes that telling her this will calm her down. However, this infuriates her even more as she takes it negatively, thinking they must have documented it to mock the losers. But Prof tells her that this is not the case. It was incorporated solely for the purpose of understanding all of them. A certain prison officer went to Ryasa and Meigo after hearing they were building an ability academy. This person was Seo Gangyu, who approached the heroes with a valuable suggestion. He wanted to add the subject of criminology to the academy's courses, solely for the purpose of understanding criminals and the traumas that led them to where they are. This is still not enough to calm Moors down, so she questions them about how they feel after reading about her past. She believes they must feel pity and sympathy for her. Right then, someone interrupts their conversation from behind, mocking Prof for chatting with a beast for no real reason. It is Yutariti, who is disappointed in Prof for not changing at all, even after so many years. He is really regretting giving him a second chance, thinking he should have fired him a long time ago. The soft-hearted hero is stunned to see his ex-boss standing right behind him, looking down on him. The hefty man doesn't stop, further insulting him by telling the kids that the education they have received until now is all wrong and vague. He tells them that he is going to teach them what was necessary in the first place, so they should take this time to remember it well. He loosens his tie while lecturing them that criminals don't become criminals because of their situation. Those who are too buried by emotions might say they become criminals because of the environment and society they grew up in, solely to trigger our emotions and gain sympathy in return. He yells loudly that they are actually criminals because they are born that way, and they are the mutants of society, like cancerous lumps. Moors is losing her mind along with the hefty man. And as it stands, it is going to be a battle of egos and ideals. Yutariti folds up his sleeves, his veins overflowing with blood, as he is ready to completely remove the cancerous lumps, believing it is the only solution to cure the body. The next chapter begins with the face-off between the ex-chairman of the Hero Association and an enraged criminal. She is deeply offended at being called a cancerous lump, although she blames the present world for making her that way. But Yutariti is not ready to hear those same stories of blaming society, and tells her to shut up. He exclaims that he is already sick and repulsed by the obvious excuses she is going to make, so he warns her that he will say it one more time. Even if she had been born in another era or society, she would still have been a piece of trash like she is right now. This guy is surely good with words, as he knows very well how to get the better of his opponent verbally. Meanwhile, he is preparing himself to beat the tar out of an already injured criminal. He lands his final verbal blows by telling her she was never meant to be born. Imagine being Moors in that situation, with someone giving you a harsh reality check about your existence. She shouts at him to shut up and stop being such a jerk. Yutariti puts his left hand in his side pocket, telling her that this pain will not be anywhere close to the level of pain that her victims and their families have suffered, but he will do everything in his power to cause her as much pain as possible. The item he pulls out of his pocket is a watch, which he wears as a preparatory ritual. After that, he looks at the time on the watch and decides that 10 minutes are going to be enough to make her feel the everlasting pain she has caused her victims. Surprisingly, Yutariti is a hero himself, who is a hybrid of physical and special type abilities. She is still in the middle of her sentence when the old man suddenly throws a punch at her, but she swiftly evades it using her ability. She curses the intruder for this surprise attack, angrily telling him that she was still talking, to which he responds that men are talking at the moment, so a woman shouldn't interfere. It seems she wasn't able to evade the punch perfectly, as her nose starts to bleed while she tells the old man to get lost. The next second, she starts to feel dizzy and is about to collapse when her minions rush to support her. She tries to act strong, cursing the old man to die. Meanwhile, the old man laughs at her remarks, pointing out that she is the one in a dire situation while he remains unscathed. He warns her that someone like her can't possibly imagine killing a mighty individual like him, and she should know her limits. The chapter ends with the entry of a new individual into Gangyu's impenetrable space, a surprise for everyone present. The next chapter begins with a fierce battle between Sinka, the Eve of the New World, and the unknown old man, whose identity is yet to be revealed. Sinka is extremely enraged at this affront, as she unleashes the full extent of her attack, creating an infinite number of portals in the space around her. She is about to launch a massive, wide-scale attack on the old man, whom she considers to be almost defeated. But it looks like he is not an easy pill to swallow. The next second, he appears behind Sinka, complimenting her on her powerful ability. After that, he mocks her, saying that at this level she wouldn't even lose to that white-haired bastard. She is extremely annoyed now, her anger boiling over, as she quickly turns to land another attack, but the old man swiftly ducks. He then tells her that she and that brat have a big problem, and punches her hard in the gut, sending her flying like a plastic bag caught in the wind. The mana around her shatters into pieces as she spits blood from the impact of this powerful punch. This was just a simple punch, but the impact was enormous, showing his immense strength. He informs her that she relies too much on her ability and didn't bother training herself physically at all. He steadily walks toward her, telling her that her physical body is not suitable for fighting powerful heroes like himself. I believe he just means her physical strength, because otherwise her presence is quite formidable. The old man tells her that he will now show her what true strength is, as he prepares to demonstrate the magnificent body he has honed through dedicated training. He hasn't even finished speaking when numerous portals open up and spikes emerge from them, surrounding him from all directions, but he is not at all worried. He calmly observes the pattern of the spikes and then notices the appearance of Gato. However, the surprise attack is too slow for him, and he stops it with his bare wrist effortlessly. He then throws Gato aside but notes that her subordinates have trained their bodies well. He is enjoying this little interference, having a brief chat with Sinka in between attacks. It's now 3 against 1, as both the pets and their master attack the old man from all sides, using Sinka's ability to their advantage. However, it seems it's not enough to take this beast down. Meanwhile, Seo Gangwoo watches the fight as if he is sitting in a cinema, his expression unreadable. He is not making any moves or threats, simply observing silently from a distance. Although he was initially taken aback by the appearance of this unexpected person in the battle, after carefully assessing the situation, he quickly decides what he will do next in this complicated scenario. This old man is known as Kingston, and apparently Gangwoo will side with him to take on these criminals and eliminate that woman from the Alpha world once and for all. The news spreads rapidly, and it seems everyone knows who Kingston is. The president is shocked to learn that Kingston has appeared out of nowhere, and his assistant confirms that Seo Gangwoo has officially reported his unexpected appearance. The bespectacled fellow shares his thoughts, mentioning that Kingston has always been an eccentric individual, and the minister believes he must have appeared because he has found someone new who interests him greatly. Mr. Bezet fears that this might be an alarming situation, which could put Officer Gangwoo in a troublesome position, but the minister believes that it is fine and that nothing bad will happen. However, he admits he is unsure about the current strength of the old man, considering they haven't seen him in action for a long time. Mors brings out her special umbrella as well, calling for him to bring it on and confront her with his full power. She might be severely injured, but her determination is commendable. Yutoridi appreciates that too, but not in the way we expected, as he smashes a heavy punch into her gut the very next second, right at the spot where she already had a wound. The force of the punch makes her vomit blood, and she surely loses some ground against this ferocious man. She calls him a scumbag while unlocking her ability, but she is too slow. The old geezer smashes another colossal punch into her belly, causing her body to bend like a bow. Mors's ability disappears, and at the moment of contact, Mr. Fatty uses his special ability called acceleration. This ability increases the speed of his punches by 100 times, and he has literally turned the cutie's body into a punching bag. Every inch of her body bears the impact of these punches. This is truly a display of next-level strength from the old geezer. Following those punches, he grabs her dented head with both hands and bulldozes his left knee into her face, destroying her facial bones as well as all the teeth in her mouth. Blood and teeth are flying everywhere. Mors's face is still pressed against Yutoridi's knee when he asks her if she is in pain, adding that Tommy treated her very nicely in that prison. Imagine being thrashed by an old man both physically and mentally. Upon hearing those words, she shrieks at him with all her remaining strength, and in the meantime, she has drawn a magic circle on the ground. I doubt that this ability will be of any use against this guy. Suddenly, those faceless 18th century magicians appear, trying to grab Mr. Yutoridi from behind. He has already noticed these mysterious figures behind him, and before they can complete their lady's first dialogue, he thrashes them in midair using acceleration. He uses this ability at 4x to blow away every piece of cloth and item on these rascals. After that, he counters and lands another fierce punch right to her face again, sending her flying like a volleyball. This thing is far from over, as he instantly goes beneath her falling body and launches her like a rocket to the top with an elbow strike. This hefty guy is as fearsome as one can imagine. What a grand display of brutal strength and speed. Mors is still midair, traveling toward the ceiling, when he reaches the top two, staring at her melons quite fondly. At this point, he smashes dozens of punches on her left and right cheeks without taking a break. Following these punches, he smashes her again in the gut. The teacher and students are frightened to see these scenes. They are unable to move from their spot, silently looking up at the top of the room. The blue mana of Yutoridi is so dominant that it is fading every object in the room. For the final move in midair, he joins his hands to form a double punch and lands it right on her chest, forming the shape of the letter U with brute force. This attack makes her strike the ground like a falling asteroid, accompanied by a large bang, announcing her arrival on the ground. She is beaten to a pulp, motionless on the ground, and only gasps of pain can be heard. Yutoridi is standing over her, looking down at her. Upon seeing her miserable condition, he states that she looks like she's in a lot of pain, and that is the kind of face that suits her best, completely messed up. This guy is a complete maniac. Even though he has completely won, his hatred against these criminals doesn't let him stop. There is no more competition left between them, but he still kicks her and drives his boot into her gut. This is the spot where she is already vulnerable, and he presses down on it as if squeezing juice out of an orange. He looks into her eyes, reminding her that the victims she has hurt and their families have suffered worse pain than this, and that too several times. The cries of pain coming from her mouth are enough to satisfy this hefty man, and he doesn't want to stop himself. He looks at his watch and notices that there are still 3 more minutes left in his world of punishment. This is the moment the girl realizes that he has the ability to control time, to which he responds that she got it right. The ex-chairman enlightens her about his ability, telling her that he can control the flow of time for himself and for any item or living being that comes into contact with him. Damn, what a fearful ability to possess. No wonder he was so full of himself while threatening everyone around. After telling her that, he climbs over her and bends down to grab her face with his palm. This time he is planning on slowing down time for her, meaning that the last 3 minutes can be manipulated and stretched out as much as he wants. He stares at her as if he is looking into her soul, ordering her to feel this excruciating pain slowly and then die. He surely hates these criminals from the core of his heart because, for him, they are the cancerous lumps of society that need to be eradicated from this world. The next chapter begins with the frightened professor and his students, who are shaken to the core by the scenes unfolding before their eyes. They never thought they would witness such insanity so early in their careers. Only a little time has passed since the beginning of this chaos, but only Moors has an idea of how long it has truly lasted. For Moors, this trouble has lasted for almost an eternity, and it still hasn't stopped. Finally, Yutariti removes his hands from her bloody face, and she takes a huge gasp of breath, as if inhaling all the oxygen in the air. On the other hand, the hefty man is still not satisfied and feels remorseful that he couldn't make it last even longer. Yutariti's very being craves more action at the moment, but it looks like the time span is over. Suddenly, the beaten woman starts laughing like a maniac. She must have lost her mind after enduring such a level of beating. This eerie laugh diverts the attention of the former chairman, who looks at her disdainfully, asking the reason behind her silly laugh. This maniacal behavior has definitely made the old fellow a bit uneasy. It looks like she still has some kind of card up her sleeve. Yutariti is unable to suppress his curiosity, so he instantly grabs her shirt to question her, inquiring if she has gone crazy from the fear of dying. She shrieks loudly and coughs up blood to clear her mouth. After that, she tells him that she's not going to lie by saying she's not afraid of dying, but that is far from the real reason behind her laugh. She elaborates that she hadn't thought she would complete her mission in this way, but she's glad that it ended this way. Upon hearing that, Yutariti becomes a bit shocked, although he's still unsure about what she's saying. So, he confirms with her what she means by all of this. The girl reveals that if she dies here, then everyone who has been affected by her ability will go down to hell with her too. This is the final move of a special type of ability user, and the special attack is known as Sacrifice. This revelation shocks Prof, and he can't believe what he has just heard. As soon as Yutariti hears that, he looks back with dilated pupils, as if he has seen a ghost. Meanwhile, in the special enclosed space of Gangyu, the famous hero known as Kingston is showing off his antics in what feels like a pure action, thrilling genre movie. Kingston is moving his hands like an old friend of Kung Fu Panda. He is single-handedly taking on the pets of Sinka, who are launching attacks on him from both sides. However, it doesn't matter to the old hero, as he is still smashing them all around. It looks like they are a piece of cake for him, even if they multiply by tenfold. Every inch of their bodies is marked with the pits created from the power-packed punches of Kingston. Gato tries to improvise, adjusting a few gears to launch an attack on Kingston, but she is way too slow. He swiftly knocks her out by smashing his fist sideways into her head. The side punch creates such an impact that she is driven into the ground, her face buried deep in the rubble. The muscular man calls out his partner's name in frustration, urgently telling her to release the leash as quickly as possible. However, his frustration is short-lived because Kingston lands a perfect punch right to his face, pinning him down on the ground. At this moment, the old geezer looks like an angel of death to these upstarts of the new world. He stares down at them with cold eyes, calling them arrogant fools. He asks them if they really think they are strong enough to have limits placed on them. Damn, this guy is defeating them in every way possible, both verbally and physically. Kingston believes they have grown quite complacent and forgotten their place in the world, so he intends to turn up the heat to teach them a lesson they will never forget. Having said that, he assumes a confident stance and, in the very next second, moves through them like a snake. A trail of blood traces his swift movement, which instantly takes their arms. Oh boy, this old geezer has severed their arms in the blink of an eye. They are unable to comprehend what just happened. All they can see are their arms flying through the air, gushes of blood still mid-flight. A moment later, both of them shout in unimaginable pain, and the old hero tells them they can heal by using the special skills of someone who can put them back together. Sinka, their Eve, is shivering with fear, cursing the old man and wondering who in the world this geezer is, who has single-handedly taken down her pets. Eve is about to unleash a surprise attack on Kingston, but her plan is thwarted by our protagonist. Gangyu punches her in the gut with full power, making her cough up blood as she falls several feet from her original position. Sinka is unable to put up a fight against these powerful heroes and punches the ground in frustration, as if regretting her decision to come to the rescue. Well, there is no time for such regret, because our hero is filled with all the anger in the world, and I bet he is not going to give her even a fraction of a second to relax. Just as we expected, Gangyu is coming toward her at lightning speed. She immediately activates her powers, warning him to stay away and not to come any closer. I have never heard such a polite threat in my life. Gangyu completely ignores her warning as he breaks through her power shield and smashes his left foot, imbued with mana, right into her chest. She gasps in pain and falls down, while Gangyu stands over her, ready to make her regret all her life decisions. Sinka finally regains her senses and desperately begs our hero to spare her life and reconsider. But she receives another powerful blow right to her gut, causing her to lose consciousness once again. Following that, our hero lands multiple blows in rapid succession, and now it's time for the endgame. Seo Gangyu is in the zone, red auras erupting from his body like flames. Her followers are calling out her name in desperation, their limbs broken, the best they can do under the circumstances. Even if they want to help her, they can't because of Kingston's imposing presence above them. Our hero is gathering all his power in his left hand to finish her off with the next move, while she cries for mercy from her crush. This is the first time Sinka has ever cried, yelling that she can't die here because she has a vision to fulfill, but the warden is not one to change his mind. Surprisingly, Gangyu's fist is blocked by someone, nullifying the red aura and power surrounding that punch. This is Kingston, who has apparently stopped our boy from killing this lady. He orders the young lad to stop right there, telling him that he didn't accomplish this using just his own strength, and that he indirectly received outside help to reach this point. Furthermore, Kingston explains that the unrivaled in the world should never accept help from anyone, as this is the standard that must be met to be called unrivaled. Well, one has to agree with the old geezer, but that means Sinka is going to walk out of here alive. On the other side of the wall, the former chairman of the Hero Association is having a one-on-one session with Moors. He is concerned about the special ability she mentioned, which is actually a sacrificial ability, and this is surely not good news. The bleeding girl is smiling wickedly, telling him that it will be activated if she dies. After that, she questions his line of action in a mocking tone, trying to stir up Yuderidi's emotions. She is definitely viewing this old bastard like the other heroes. Oh, poor Moors. The muscular man addresses his old comrade and the students, ordering them to listen up to what he is about to say. He looks at them, expressing his condolences in advance to everyone, which shocks Mr. Prof. The teacher doesn't want to believe what he has just heard, but it doesn't matter. The very next second, Mr. Yuderidi pierces his hand through the enemy's body, ultimately shutting off her mind. The old fellow has the heart of a stone, as he is ready to sacrifice his future heroes anyway. However, there is still something on the mind of the former chairman, as he hints that he is going to get her treated, making her release her ability, which will help them all survive. But if they lose her in the midst of trying to save her, then millions of people will lose their lives again. I have no idea how one is supposed to react to this approach. He stands up and tells the professor that it is right for him to kill her here and sacrifice all of them. He believes that in order to treat the cancer, it is inevitable for the normal cells to take some damage too. The old bastard preaches his theory loudly that the sacrifice is needed for the greater good, and he is going to take this approach. He bids farewell to all of them and offers his gratitude for their service and sacrifice. The next chapter begins with ominous mana starting to erupt from Moore's body. These visuals make Yuderidi glad, as he is happy that she can only use this kind of ominous energy when she dies. He believes that it would have been more dangerous if she could use it while being alive. Having said that, he takes his leave from there, wishing the others good luck in advance. This guy is so annoying because he is trolling Prof even at the end, stating that he might not need that luck, as he has the ability of high endurance after all, and he must be really sick of surviving all these years. Morris has turned into a divine entity, ready to take all of them to the afterlife together. She handcuffs all of them, but their guardian is not going to let it happen that easily, as he pacifies them by saying that he is going to protect them. The lady of the afterlife is surprised to hear such an ambitious comment from the teacher, as she questions what he means by that, to which he responds that it is exactly what he said. He will be the only one to accompany her, while the children will stay safe. This is exactly what it means to be a teacher. No wonder Rosa chose Prof to lead the next generation. Well, another kind of battle has begun in this chapter. Gangyu is now fighting the wrapped geezer, who has crossed his limit by stopping our boy from executing the leader of the Alpha world. A full-scale, power-packed battle is going on between the two. Gangyu is all offensive, throwing punches one after the other, while the old man is just blocking them. Although, he has realized the potential and power that is embodied in the protagonist. Kingston tells our boy that he already knew that he is capable of walking down the path of being unrivaled, but the warden is completely ignoring this old geezer, and is focused on smashing him into pieces. The geezer is definitely not your average guy, as he is calmly blocking Gangyu's attacks. He addresses our hero, saying that he shouldn't ignore him like that, as he wants to have a talk with him. This really puts Gangyu off guard for a second, but he goes for another blow, telling him to step aside as he is becoming a hurdle in his mission. Time is of the essence in this particular situation. It looks like Kingston is not going to follow Gangyu's command, as he clenches his fist and tells him that he understands how he must feel, but that in order to resolve any situation, one mustn't get too emotional. While lecturing him, Kingston decides to heat up the battle too, as he also launches a punch at Gangyu, but our boy dodges it perfectly, having already seen it coming. However, the power behind this mere punch is insane, as it destroys the roof of Gangyu's prison realm, which was impossible as far as we knew. A huge hole is created in the space, and a clear sky can be seen greeting all of them. After destroying the space, he offers Sinka a chance to get out of here, as this might be her only opportunity. The leader of the Alpha world is speechless and powerless at the moment, and she has learned her lesson that she is no match for these guys. She makes a wise decision and leaves instantly with her pets. They are really dejected to taste this defeat. After they leave, the only two people present in the realm are Gangu and Kingston. The old geezer tells him that now they can have a really good conversation in private. However, the protagonist ignores his call again and lashes out at him with full power. For the time being, it looks like Kingston doesn't want to engage in a fight. But he makes up his mind too, as he feels like it is not a bad idea to involve their bodies in this conversation as well. Meanwhile, Morris and Prof are having a conversation in which Prof is telling her that things are exactly like Udariti said, and the only thing he is good at is defending. He tells her that he never liked his ability in the beginning, but after having a detailed conversation with Rayasat, he realized that his ability is absolutely needed for society. He is ready to bring out as much mana from his ability as possible and will take on as much damage as he can on behalf of the children. Prof's body is glowing with mana and is even covering the children to take their share of pain as well. The students are crying after knowing the intention of their teacher, who is willing to sacrifice himself for their sake. This sacrificial intent has really caught Morris off guard, as she questions the reason behind this motive, and why he is going so far to do that for his students, to which he responds that he has already told her that he is their teacher and, as a teacher, he is responsible for them. It clearly shows the upbringing of Morris because she is completely unaware of this kind of attitude from a teacher. In a confused state, she further asks what all of this has to do with only him dying alone. Prof is very calm at the moment, and he profoundly answers that both of them might not be able to understand each other because they have lived in completely different worlds with different ideals and teachings. Furthermore, he clearly tells her that the difference is that she was raised by bad adults and, as a result, grew up as a killing machine. This last line infuriates her, and she tells him to shut up. Nevertheless, Prof is not stopping and wants to convey his true feelings in this scenario. He tells her that she had no choice in this life and was controlled like a puppet for the sake of these evil beings. Moreover, she strayed and walked the wrong path for the sake of a bad future that someone else wanted. Morris is clearly losing her mind now, yelling shut up again and again. She doesn't want to accept reality. Well, our blonde teacher is just like your average stubborn teacher who keeps on going. Prof is doing exactly the same, as he informs her clearly that he is not going to shut up at all, and he will be correcting all the wrong things she has learned so far in the afterlife because they are going to spend a lot of time together. Morris is growing sick of this lecture, cursing him over and over again, but it doesn't have any effect on the teacher. He now switches the conversation a bit, telling her that the job of a teacher is to devote their life to the children's future, and so ever since he was selected to become a teacher in the Ability Academy, he was prepared to sacrifice himself for the sake of his children. The students are now hurting to hear such comments from their beloved teacher, and they clearly don't want their guardian to suffer this much on their behalf. They try to stop him from doing it, but he assures them that it is going to be fine. He gives them a big smile, stating that he hopes all of them will become good adults because they represent the future. The future of the Hero Association and humanity, the next generation of heroes. This mention of the future takes Morris on a nostalgic journey through his dark past. Well, nostalgia is an inevitable thing. She remembers the time when she was a little kid, admitted to the school, and her first teacher was Taelum, the person who was going to guide all of them. I'm not sure if she was a teacher or a busty witch at this moment because her features are quite striking. She greets them with her big, bright red eyes, telling them that all of them are going to be the future. These words definitely resounded in her ears, and she clearly remembers them in the back of her mind. At that time, Morris was just a 12-year-old with a troubled past, and the first thing Miss Taelum asked them was if they were prepared to sacrifice their lives for her, a complete opposite of what Prof stands for. Moving ahead with the story in the orphanage, Taelum would select children who had abilities and admit them into a school that she built. She continued preaching her ideals by telling the children that she was going to be their teacher from then on and that she was going to become the queen of the world in the future. She also assigned roles to the kids, using them as pawns to reach her goal. The wannabe teacher openly informs the kids that they are going to take her classes in order to become her loyal soldiers in this school. Taelum's intimidating expressions are enough to scare some kids, and even her normal talks to gain the class's attention sound like threats to the students. Following that day, Morris and all the other children started taking classes regularly from Taelum over the years, which included lectures on ways to easily kill people using their special innate abilities, brainwashing classes on etiquette, and loyalty tests. She used to test their loyalty using extreme measures, including whipping them until they bled. Among the kids, Morris was the sharpest and grew the fastest in using her ability to the fullest for Taelum's ambition. As a result, she was favored by Taelum herself and became the class monitor. The authority of the class monitor allowed her to punish the other children on Taelum's behalf, so she punished all these kids in the same way, making them cry in pain. This girl followed the teachings of her teacher more than anyone else and fully adapted to them. However, she wasn't fully content with this initially, and she informed her teacher about her true feelings regarding this matter and her role as class monitor. She informed her that she didn't have any idea why it was like this, but when she punishes her classmates who are not up to standards, she starts to feel nauseous unknowingly. This makes her feel uneasy, although she is brainwashed about these standards. Talon carefully listens to her concern about the feelings she is experiencing from this, to which she responds with an example of bugs. The witch teacher asks her if she likes bugs, to which she responds that she hates them to the core. Using that answer, the teacher tells her that normally when humans look at inferior beings, they would loathe them, which is a very normal reaction expected from someone. She puts her hand on Moore's shoulder and explains that time will make it easier for her. As time passes and her friends also start to reach the level of becoming more human, she will begin to feel fewer of those emotions. So, she advises Moores to stay focused and keep doing her best in this regard. This bitch has a brain with beauty. She looks into the kid's eyes and puts her complete trust in her by saying that she knows she made the right choice in making her the class monitor. Well, this kind of trust and smart words can make anyone do anything. From that day forward, Moores continued her journey as class monitor, although she kept feeling this unknown nauseating sensation. However, as Talum told her, it started to occur less frequently as time passed. She became used to it, and her emotional sense evolved further. Years passed, and all of them grew up. It had been a long time since they joined the school, and next year they would actually become adults with incredible powers. This would mark the day when this bitch would change her title from being a teacher to the queen of the world. Talum's plans progressed smoothly as she trained them to be perfect pawns, and she was happy with the progress until an incident happened that changed the course of her fate. It was doom time for Miss Talum, which started with the killing of her suited minions, and a voice could be overheard roasting his pal, saying that it was a shame she couldn't kill this bastard in one attack. He roasted her further, saying it might be due to the adventures they had last night, and as a result, she got a bit tired. Well, I am sure you naughty nerds got it too. This voice belonged to a hero with a bob cut, who was hugging a girl while telling her that they would rest tonight. However, the girl didn't seem to have any interest in resting and responded that it would depend on how she felt at night. This duo is Clark and Hilo, who are special type ability users, and they look dangerous with their terrifying eyes. Oh boy, we are in the school, and Miss Talum has been slain by this duo. Clark has busted one of her melons, and blood is erupting out of it like a volcano. This bobcut guy is so disappointed that this woman was so weak, and just a single punch has created a black hole in her chest. However, he can't believe it because Uteridi has specifically ordered him to be careful of this lady. So, they are the goons of Uteridi. No wonder they have this kind of attitude. Hilo believes that it might have happened because they have become too strong. That is the reason they easily killed this evil lady. Clark is having a hard time believing that, but he praises her commitment, noting that this lady built the whole school from scratch and raised children into rebels just to attain that goal, which was surely a big dream to achieve. Hilo jumps in and asks if they should head inside the school, to which Clark responds that they don't need to, as it would be pointless considering they have already killed the person they wanted to. The red-haired girl believes that they should go inside, otherwise, that fatty bastard would probably nag at them for not killing every single individual in there. Clark gets her point and decides to go in there by himself, exclaiming that he will quickly end this matter. Well, there's no way to stop a girl, so she joins him too. Clark gathers the kids in front and shows them the dead body of their teacher while announcing that this school will be closed down from now on due to wrong initiatives. The students lose their minds after seeing their dead teacher painted in the color of blood. Initially, they get startled by this scenario, but they instantly regain their senses and collectively launch an attack on these heroes. These little rebels think that they can take them on, but they instantly learn their lesson when Hilo snaps her fingers, and the sound from this snap launches them into the air like rockets. They fall on their backs at the end of the room, completely devastated. In just a single encounter, Clark and Hilo realize that she did teach them very well. Hilo questions him if it is the right decision to bring them along to the Hero Association, to which he clearly answers that in order to re-educate them so they can blend into society, a lot of money and time will be spent. Furthermore, even if they do go through that education, they will be walking killing weapons, and they are just ticking time bombs, and no one knows when they will go off. Following that, the blonde hero asks his partner if they have killed people until now, to which the lady responds that she doubts that because they have caught them before they started anything. Upon hearing that, he questions if they should have waited until they started to do something, so they had a reason to kill them right there. He is definitely not handling this situation well, deeming it a headache for them, and he has no idea how to deal with it for now, so he asks her if she has anything on her mind. Hilo puts forward his point of view that it is better to take care of them at this very second because it is more effective and convenient compared to dealing with this situation in the future. She believes that they are already brainwashed and have been living under this trauma for years now, plus they have a different sense of the world, so they will definitely become villains when they grow up. Clark finds weight in her point of view and agrees with it wholeheartedly. Meanwhile, as they are still having a little discussion over the matter, the students start to regain their senses. Clark comes up with an idea that they can just make up for some crimes that they committed to avoid having troublesome situations arise in the future and putting in a whole lot more work later on. After hearing his idea, Hilo advises her to save some strength for nighttime so they could have some fun, to which he mockingly replies that it will depend on how he feels at night. good presence of mind, I reckon. The chapter ends at this interesting turn in the storyline of Moors, giving us an idea about how Moors turned into this kind of girl over the years. Meanwhile, our hero and the old geezer are exchanging blows on the other side of the walls. Well then, I guess we have to stay tuned for more chapters to be released to find out what kind of scenes will unfold for Moors and Prove, as well as the outcome of the talk between Gang Yu and Kingston. If you're excited for it, definitely make sure to keep your notifications turned on so you don't miss out on the upload. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to support me. I upload almost every single day, and I look forward to bringing you guys more stuff to watch in the future. Until next time.